Chapter 3662. Ling Xiao didn't expect that he would run into Zilong, who was being chased by someone just as he arrived at the Nether Realm. Furthermore, Zilong's life was hanging by a thread. Looking at the situation, Ling Xiao observed for a brief moment. Then he approached Zilong in his shadow warrior form. Although he was in a hurry to save Zilong, he didn't dare be careless. What if this man had a helper? Therefore, there was nothing wrong with observing him in advance. When Ling Xiao approached Zilong, the second rank divine core warrior had pressured Zilong to the point where he couldn't breathe. Terrifying attacks came one after another. However, Jiang Qin couldn't tell who this man was from these attacks. But Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi eye, and because he was in a hurry last time, he didn't have the time to observe. This time, he deliberately peeked through the veil. This face was unfamiliar to him. He had never seen it before. But Zilong should know who it was. Therefore, he planned to draw a picture of the face and let Zilong recognize it. But right now, saving Zilong's life was more important. The man was attacking Zilong with all his strength, and he had no idea that someone had entered their battle. Right now, Zilong was in great danger. The man's attacks were fierce, and Zilong would probably die in just a few more attacks. Ling Xiao felt a little strange. Didn't Zilong get a talisman from Suming-jin? Why didn't he use it? If he had used it, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Didn't she say the talisman could help him escape? Could it be that it was just as Jiang Qin thought, there was something wrong with the talisman? These thoughts flashed through Jiang Qin's mind. It didn't affect his plan to save Zilong. What he needed to do now was to stay calm. Although Zilong was in great danger, he could still withstand 2 or 3 attacks. The purple dragon's martial soul was a purple divine dragon. It was similar to the frost divine dragon. It was far weaker than the top 10 dragon souls. After all, even though they were all dragon souls, there was still a huge difference between their levels. What made Ling Xiao impressed was that Zilong's martial soul had reached the 9th level of the Hotian realm. This was the highest level martial soul he had seen since he arrived in the 4 major regions. It could increase his attacking strength by 9 times. As for his opponent's martial soul, it was only at the 6th level of the Hotian realm. It was far weaker than Zilong's martial soul. Perhaps this was the reason why Zilong was able to survive for a few days. Zilong was on the verge of despair. He had almost exhausted all of his means. He had many talismans on him. Of course, most of them were given to him by his sister. That was why he had been able to hold on until now. But now, there was not a single one left. He hated that he didn't even know who the other party was, and he was going to die here without knowing anything. It was simply depressing. It's really exciting to see your desperate expression. The other party sneered and seemed very pleased with himself. This is my final attack. I'll send you to the Western Paradise. As soon as he finished speaking, he circulated his true chi and activated his royal grade martial skill. However, it wasn't a First Order Emperor realm, but a Second Order Emperor realm 100 steps divine fist. This martial skill was also the standard martial skill of the Purple Mansion Army. Basically, only martial artists above the rank of Major General could learn it, even though it was only a low-grade Second Order Emperor class martial skill. However, compared to a first-level Emperor grade martial skill, it was many times stronger. The strike landed. Zilong was dead for sure. Heaven wants me dead. How hateful. Zilong let out a long sigh and closed his eyes, waiting for death to descend upon him. Since there was no point in struggling, he might as well accept his death. However, right at this moment, a third killing intent suddenly appeared. The opponent's attack didn't land. Instead, he let out a muffled snort. Who is it? Zilong opened his eyes, and he saw the Second Order Divine Core Warrior staring at the man in front of him cautiously. Ling Xiao. Zilong was dumbfounded. It was Ling Xiao who saved him again. Don't talk, just lie down. Ling Xiao signaled Zilong to keep quiet. After that, he stared at the opponent. "If I'm not mistaken, you're from the Purple Mansion Army as well. If not, you wouldn't be able to enter this bloody battlefield. But you're really brave to try and assassinate the king's younger brother. What will Yu Qilong do when he learns about this?" From the sound of it, his words did not seem to have much meaning. But in fact, he was trying to determine the identity of the assassin by observing his reaction. Yu Qilong was the commander of the Purple Mansion Army. If this man was scared, then he must have been ordered to do so by someone else. If he wasn't scared at all, then this assassination attempt must be related to Yu Qilong. The assassin's reaction couldn't be faked under the Tai Chi eye, so it is related to Yu Qilong. But I don't understand why. Doesn't Yu Qilong like the king? Ling Xiao had a rough idea of what was going on, but he still couldn't understand why. "Buddy, I didn't expect you to come here to die as well. You're the one who saved Zilong last time, right? Fine, I'll kill both of you today. Then no one will ever know who I really am." The assassin gazed at Ling Xiao with an indifferent expression. Although Ling Xiao had sneak attacked him with the Hell Shadow Strike, he was still a second-order divine core warrior. He was much stronger than Ling Xiao. The Hell Shadow Strike had only forced him to back off, and it had only left a bloody mark on his body. It hadn't caused any real damage. He was sure that Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to escape from him. This was the truth. Ling Xiao's speed was now faster than a first-order divine core warrior. But in front of a second-order divine core warrior, it was still nothing. Even if he used the Earth-crossing Golden Light skill to escape, his speed was still slower than the assassin's. After all, there was still a huge gap between the Divine Vein Realm and the Divine Core Realm. Last time, the assassin didn't expect someone to suddenly appear and save him. But this time he wouldn't be careless. 100 steps, Divine Fist, kill! The assassin suddenly moved his feet, and with a shake of his body, he leapt towards Ling Xiao like a fierce wind. Even if he was facing an 8th-order Divine Vein warrior, the assassin didn't have any intention of showing any mercy. He was actually using a 2nd-order Emperor Martial skill. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao. 100 steps, Divine Fist. Within 100 steps, he could arrive at his target in an instant. It was as if he was teleporting. He would never make the same mistake as last time. But Ling Xiao was no longer the same Ling Xiao as last time. Last time, he was only at the 3rd-order Divine Vein Realm. This time, his cultivation had already reached the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. I might as well take his attack. After Ling Xiao obtained the Fiery Rebirth skill, he had become much bolder. He knew the difference in strength between both parties. If he wanted to hurt his opponent, he would have to do it when his opponent's center was open. The Hell Shadow Strike's attack wasn't strong enough, but he still had 3 skills that could hurt his opponent. The first was the Wrath of the Black Soul, and the second was the Blood Lightning God. And the last one was the 2nd-order Emperor Soul skill he obtained from the Ghost Demon Palace, Soul Assassination. It was an attack that targeted the soul. His opponent wouldn't be able to defend against it. If these 3 skills were used consecutively, he could even severely injure this 2nd-order Divine Core Warrior. But he had to use them when his opponent was defenseless. If not, it wouldn't be useful. Chapter 36-63. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the 100 steps Divine Fist killed Ling Xiao with a single blow. Even though Ling Xiao had the Black Tortoise Divine Body and the 100 Transformation Divine weapon to defend himself, his opponent was still powerful enough to kill him directly. Ling Xiao! Zilong screamed in shock. Originally, he only thought of Ling Xiao as an ordinary friend. Because Ling Xiao saved his life, he felt that it was a little interesting. He even thought that Ling Xiao might have some ulterior motives and coveted something from the Monarch Mansion. But this time he completely abandoned such thoughts. How could a person who was willing to risk his life to save him covet something from the Monarch Mansion? He really deserved to die for doubting Ling Xiao. He was worse than a pig or a dog. Even a pig or a dog knew how to repay a debt of gratitude. You actually killed Ling Xiao. I'm going to die with you. Zilong struggled to stand up. At this moment, his eyes were filled with terrifying hatred. The power in his body was rising crazily. Boom! Following a terrifying loud noise. He actually broke through. Zilong, who had reached the complete core formation realm long ago, stayed in this realm for a full 10 years. Now, because of Ling Xiao's death, he broke through to the Iron Core realm in anger. What? The assassin was shocked, but immediately calmed down. Humph. What's the use of breaking through now? You're already seriously injured. Indeed, if Zilong had broken through before he was injured, this assassin would definitely not be his opponent. But now it was too late. Zilong also knew this, but he just wanted to avenge Ling Xiao. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated. He activated what little vital essence he had left, planning to die together with his opponent. However, at this moment, no one noticed. Ling Xiao, who was lying on the ground, bleeding from his 7 orifices, had a strange blue flame burning in his eyes. Even the blood that flowed out completely disappeared. After a while, Ling Xiao suddenly stood up. Under Zilong's stunned expression, he suddenly stretched out his right hand. Crimson Thunder God! The furious blood-red lightning bolts crazily pounced on the assassin. The killer had no time to react. Even though he was a 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior, he still couldn't break the rules. After the attack just now, his old force had just dissipated, and his new force had yet to return, so his middle gate was wide open. In the face of this violent attack, he could only endure it. The terrifying lightning struck the assassin. The assassin's skin emitted a burnt smell. He was blasted back 4 or 5 steps, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Brett, you're finished. The assassin thought that this was Ling Xiao's strongest attack. To be able to injure him, of course, it was strong. But even if he was injured, he could still kill Ling Xiao. However, at this moment, a terrifying soul force rushed into his soul realm. Soul assassination. A high-grade 2nd-order Emperor realm soul skill. Even this 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior's face had turned deathly pale, and his eyes were glazed over. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. The situation was extremely bad. However, this was not the end. While the assassin was still in a daze, Ling Xiao unleashed his final attack. Wrath of the Dark Soul! The terrifying yin-yang cosmic tiger leapt towards the assassin. It looked like it was going to devour the assassin. A 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior was sent flying a few hundred meters away by the impact. He rolled a few times on the ground before he finally managed to escape. Damn it, who the hell is that guy? Why is he so terrifying? The assassin's mind was filled with questions as he ran away. His opponent was just an 8th-level Divine Vein Warrior, but he was able to come back from the dead, and he was able to unleash such a terrifying attack. It was impossible for the assassin to defend himself. If he continued to stay here, he would be no match for Zilong. What else could he do other than run away? Wait for his death? Looking at the assassin leaving, Ling Xiao finally let out a sigh of relief. Both the Wrath of the Dark Soul and Soul Assassination had a cool-down period. If his opponent didn't care, then he would be in danger. As for the Blood Lightning God, it was even more troublesome. That attack had consumed 100,000 high-grade soul stones. The Blood Lightning God withered once again. Ling Xiao had no choice but to feed it with high-grade soul stones once again. I really can't afford to use this skill. Although it's powerful, the consumption is just too terrifying. He shook his head with a bitter smile. Then he turned to Zilong and said, "We can't stay here any longer. Let's leave now." The attack just now must have attracted the attention of the nearby warriors. If it was just a 1st-level Divine Core Warrior, he could still handle it. But if it was a 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior, he would be dead for sure. Therefore, right now, the most important thing was to run for his life. Bang! Zilong, who was still full of energy just now, saw Ling Xiao come back to life and saw the assassin run away. Finally, with a single breath, he collapsed to the ground. "Hey, are you all right?" Ling Xiao hurriedly ran over and asked. "I won't die any time soon," Zilong said with a bitter smile, "but all my internal organs are severely damaged. Even my inner core is damaged. If I can't get treated in time, even if I don't die, I'll become a cripple in the future. Let's talk on the way." Ling Xiao placed the purple dragon into the beast ring without any explanation. After that, he started running towards the exit of the Nether Realm. Not long after they left, a few divine core warriors appeared on the battlefield. After confirming that no one was around, they turned around and left. If they had left just a few minutes later, they would have been slaughtered like sheep. This was the Nether Realm. It was an unreasonable place. Even if Zilong was the king's younger brother, it was useless. All the people here lived on the edge of their blades, and they could die at any moment. No one was afraid of Ziqinya. "Is there any way I can help you?" Ling Xiao asked after he felt safe. He had been taking good care of Zilong. When he was in the Z Mansion army, if it wasn't for Zilong protecting him, he would have been killed by Tang Yi. Before this, he just wanted to use his relationship with Zilong. At least he would have someone to rely on. No one would come looking for trouble. But after spending some time together, he felt that Zilong was a friend worth making. Therefore, he wouldn't just watch Zilong die or become a cripple. "I've troubled you a lot. How could I?" Zilong said with a bitter smile. "You don't think of me as your brother?" Ling Xiao's expression suddenly turned cold. "You're right. I'm just an ordinary man. How could I be your brother?" "Brother Ling, please don't misunderstand." "Fine, I don't mind telling you. I'm afraid that only the 9 Lives flower can heal my injuries. In the entire Violet Spirit Kingdom, I think only Yu Qilong has the 9 Lives flower," Zilong said with a bitter smile. "So you're saying you need Yu Qilong to save you with the 9 Lives flower?" Ling Xiao confirmed. "Yes, that's right. Brother Qilong likes my sister. I don't think he'll leave me in the lurch." Zilong didn't realize that the men who tried to assassinate him were most likely sent by Yu Qilong. Ling Xiao didn't have any solid evidence, so he didn't say anything. Chapter 3664. According to Ling Xiao's conjecture, since Yu Qilong chose to assassinate and not attack openly, this meant that, at least on the surface, he would listen to Ziqinya. In that case, as long as Ziqinya made a move, the 9 Lives flower could be obtained. Also, I need to confirm something. Zilong's eyes suddenly became sharp. "Oh." Ling Xiao looked at Zilong in the beast ring curiously. "Is it about Yu Qilong?" "That's right. Actually, Brother Ling should have thought of it long ago. That person was very likely sent by Yu Qilong to kill me. But I don't understand. I have a good relationship with Yu Qilong, and Yu Qilong likes my sister. What is he after by doing this?" It turned out that Zilong had also noticed Yu Qilong's problem. He was just unwilling to believe it for now. "Hee, I didn't say it because I was afraid you would misunderstand. But since you've already brought it up, I won't hide it anymore. Indeed, I also suspect that person was sent by Yu Qilong." Ling Xiao smiled and said, "But I'm also puzzled about this matter. Purely in terms of relationship, Yu Qilong should be trying to curry favor with you. Why would he kill you? There's probably something we don't know about here. The 9 Lives flower can save me, but it's very important to the Yu clan. Even the Yu clan only has 3 9 Lives flowers, and they've been carefully keeping them. If he's willing to take it out, I believe that he has no intention of harming me. That person is probably instigated by someone else, or he could be acting on his own." Yu Qilong continued. "That's a good idea. But what if he's not willing to take out the 9 Lives flower? What will you do?" Ling Xiao asked. "Then I can only resign myself to fate. After all, this kind of thing isn't something I can control." Zilong smiled bitterly and said, I didn't expect that my life would be in the hands of others. Sigh. Right? Didn't Su Mingjin give you an Earth Escape talisman? Why didn't it work? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. I used it, but it doesn't seem to work. It's probably because my cultivation is weak. Zilong shook his head. Ling Xiao's brows furrowed. This Su Mingjin looks cultured and refined. She doesn't seem to be in a rush when doing things. However, I can't see through this person. So, Zilong, you should also be on your guard. Compared to you, Qilong, he's even more terrifying. Who are you? Is there something wrong with his talisman? Zilong exclaimed. Not necessarily. Anyway, it's just my intuition. Ling Xiao said. All right, I believe you. I'll be careful of that Taoist in the future. Zilong nodded, his face looking even paler than before. Take this healing pill of mine first. Although it can't make you fully recover, it's enough to keep you alive. Ling Xiao took out a healing pill and gave it to Zilong. This healing pill was meant for divine core warriors. Ling Xiao had only recently refined 2 pills. He didn't use it himself, but it came in handy here. Thank you. Zilong didn't hold back. He swallowed the healing pill, and his complexion looked better. He didn't feel as bad as before. Good stuff. I really don't know how to thank you this time, brother. You've saved me twice. I even suspected you had other intentions. Zilong said with a bitter smile. It's nothing. We weren't close before, and I even thought about using you. But now we're good brothers, aren't we? Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. Yes, we're good brothers now. Zilong nodded his head. He was an arrogant man, and he rarely made friends with others. But Ling Xiao, he really got along well with him, especially after being saved by Ling Xiao twice in a row. Zilong was really thankful. If he couldn't make friends with a brother like this, it would be his loss. But this time it's a blessing in disguise for you. You finally made a breakthrough in your cultivation. If you meet that assassin again, you won't be afraid anymore, right? Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. I'll have to wait until I get the 9 lives flower. Zilong said with a bitter smile on his face. Ling Xiao didn't really agree. Even without the 9 lives flower, he still had ways to help Zilong. But he didn't want to expose his pill concoction skills. If he did, there would be people visiting him every day, and it would be troublesome. Let's just wait and see. If he really couldn't get the 9 lives flower, he would do it himself. While chatting, both men left the bloody battlefield at high speed. According to Ling Xiao's original plan, he wouldn't leave the bloody battlefield until he broke through to the divine core realm. But now, in order to save Zilong, he had no choice but to leave for a while. Although it would take some time, for his friend it was worth it. Along the way, he tried his best to avoid any dangers and chose the safest path. If he could avoid a fight, he would. Therefore, in just 3 days, they arrived at the Purple Spirit Sanctuary. Being on the move was also a very good way to cultivate. In just 3 days, Ling Xiao's cultivation had increased by 10%. Besides that, he had also comprehended the final form of the 9 transformation Divine Fiend skill. The strength of the final form was comparable to a 2nd grade Emperor Realm Marshal skill. For him, his combat strength had increased by a lot. Also, the Blood Thunder God had swallowed 150,000 upper rank soul stones. This had caused the amount of soul stones he had to drop rapidly. But the Blood Thunder God's activity had made him feel even more confident. This thing could even injure a 2nd grade Divine Core Warrior. Also, it had swallowed 100,000 upper rank soul stones. If it had swallowed 150,000 upper rank soul stones, perhaps its strength would be even more frightening. Along the way, both men had become more familiar with each other. Besides not telling Zilong that he was from the western region, Ling Xiao had told him everything that wasn't important. But even so, in Zilong's eyes, Ling Xiao had become even more mysterious. As for Ling Xiao, he also learned about the situation of the Purple Kingdom from Zilong Ling Zhao's next step was definitely to go to the Purple Kingdom Royal City, because through the Purple Kingdom Royal City, he would be able to reach the Dong Sheng Strong Kingdom and the Golden Heavenly Kingdom. He might even be able to leave the Golden Heavenly region and travel to the Eternal Emperor region. Simply put, the Purple Kingdom was one of the great kingdoms that belonged to the Dong Sheng Strong Kingdom. Jiang Qin already knew this, but what he didn't know was that the king of the Purple Kingdom wasn't hereditary. He was appointed by the Dong Sheng Strong Kingdom. Strictly speaking, the Purple Kingdom's army belonged to the Purple Kingdom, not the king's private army. In other words, no matter how the king was changed, the army would only listen to the current king. The king of the Purple Kingdom was also the strongest warrior in the entire Purple Kingdom. He was a peak 6th grade Divine Core warrior. Below him was the Purple Kingdom's chief marshal. He was also a 6th grade Divine Core warrior, but he was a late 6th grade Divine Core warrior. He was slightly weaker than the king. Then there were the 5 great generals. All of them were early 6th grade Divine Core warriors. As for Zilong's sister, she was a peak 5th grade Divine Vein warrior. Compared to the great generals, she was much weaker. But compared to the lieutenant general, she was much stronger. Chapter 36:65. As for the Z family, they once had a great general when they were at their peak. But too bad that general was killed in the war with the Empire. Although he had brought great honor to the Z family, his death had also foreshadowed the decline of the Z family. As a result, Z Qianye could only be the king of a small purple spirit kingdom. The king of a small purple spirit kingdom wasn't a hereditary position. It was appointed by the king of the Purple Kingdom. My sister has been working very hard, but she is still far from becoming a king. Therefore, on one hand, she doesn't like Yu Qilong, but on the other hand, she doesn't want to offend the Yu family who has a king. It's really hard for her. Zilong sighed. After listening to Zilong's explanation, Ling Xiao had a basic understanding of the situation in the Purple Kingdom. The strongest warrior was at the 6th Divine Core realm. There was no one above that. With his current situation, if he wanted to fight with the king of the Purple Kingdom, he would need to be at least at the 3rd or 4th Divine Core realm. In other words, he would need to be at least a lieutenant general. Of course, he didn't have any grudges with the king of the Purple Kingdom. But if he didn't want to be controlled by someone, he had to work hard and increase his strength. After all, this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. You couldn't be sure who would become your enemy tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll take it one step at a time. I was able to break through from the 4th Divine Vein realm to the 8th Divine Vein realm in just half a month. I don't think anyone would believe me. If someone else wanted to do this, it would take them at least 5 years. But for me, it only took me half a month. Therefore, as long as I cultivate diligently, I will be able to meet the reincarnation of the Moon Girl as soon as possible. Yu Fanghua! He knew that if he wasn't strong enough, even if he met Yu Fanghua, it would still be a tragedy. Therefore, strength was the key to success. With Ling Xiao's healing pill, Zilong's injuries didn't worsen. But if he wanted to fully recover, the 9 Lives flower would be extremely important. They walked into the shelter. 2 First Divine Core captains who were in charge of guarding the shelter threw their gazes at them. One of them said, "If you want to leave, use the portal over there." Their responsibility was to guard the shelter and prevent anyone from fighting. As for the people who came in and went out, they didn't care too much. Thank you. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, liked people who were straightforward. He stepped into the portal and left the bloody battlefield. Wasn't that young man earlier the one being chased by Tang Yi? One of the captains suddenly said, "You must be seeing things. How can someone who was chased by Tang Yi still be alive? Besides, the difference in their auras was too great." The previous one was only at the 4th level of the Divine Vein realm, but this one was at the 8th level of the Divine Vein realm. Half a month? Impossible. That's true. Could it be that I'm seeing things? Of course. Ling Xiao didn't know how shocked the two captains were. After he exited the portal, he walked out carefully. In the past, many people had come out of the bloody battlefield. Therefore, the Kiliarchs guarding outside didn't pay too much attention to it. But Ling Xiao, this kid, was really too eye-catching when he went in. Moreover, Tang Yi had chased after him to kill him. None of the Kiliarchs here didn't know him. Come here to register. Then you can leave. If you want to go in next time, come back to register. Give me the waste token. The Kiliarch in charge of registration said without raising his head. Repeating the same thing every day, he was too lazy to raise his head. It was tiring, but when he got the waste token, he suddenly jumped up. Ling Xiao. His shout attracted the attention of the others. It's actually Ling Xiao. Is he the Ling Xiao who was chased by Tang Yi? That's right. It's him. I remember his appearance very clearly. He's really not dead. The group of people looked as if they were looking at a rare animal. Everyone's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Sir, let's register as soon as possible. I have urgent matters. Purple Dragon's matter couldn't be delayed. Moreover, once this matter was over, he still had to return to the bloody battlefield. Saving people couldn't be delayed. Cultivation couldn't be delayed either. Oh, the Kiliarch was stunned for a moment. He knew that Ling Xiao wasn't dead because the name on the stone wall hadn't turned gray. But not only was Ling Xiao not dead, he even dared to come out. Moreover, his aura had become much stronger. This made him very shocked. After the registration, Ling Xiao didn't stop. He directly headed out of Chaoyang City. Logically speaking, if an ordinary Purple Mansion soldier wanted to leave Chaoyang City, he had to report to his superior. For example, Ling Xiao belonged to the battling dragon camp, so he had to report to his sergeant. He could only leave after the sergeant agreed. But Sergeant Lei Bao had already been killed by Ling Xiao. Centurion Tang Chu Nunnery had also been killed. Even Kiliarch Cheng Qian had been killed. He really didn't know who he should report to. Helpless, he could only go to Captain Fong Ming. But Fong Ming was in a meeting. He gritted his teeth and could only leave first. As long as he could rush back within a day at most, he would be fined his salary and whipped a few times. He could still take it. The guards of the inner city were usually guarded by experts at the level of a captain. But today, the person guarding the city gate was his enemy, Tang Yi. Together with Tang Yi was Yan Bing, who had just been promoted to a captain. Yan Bing was originally a Kiliarch, but in this half a month, she had made a breakthrough in her cultivation. With her military merits, she wouldn't have any problem becoming a captain. Yan Bing was also the chief examiner for Ling Xiao. She was quite fair. The two of them sat under a pavilion near the inner city gate and chatted. Tang Bing, that child has finally been trained. I didn't waste my half a month of training. Tang Yi said happily. Tang Chu Nunnery was dead. Tang Mo was dead. Tang Yi had lost both his son and grandson. Perhaps the higher-ups wanted to appease him, so they specially recruited Tang Bing into the army. This Tang Bing didn't disappoint. Previously, he was in the 5th level of the Divine Vein Realm and was about to break through. Now he had reached the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Although Tang Yi had spent a lot of elixirs, now that he was in the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm, he wouldn't have any problem becoming a captain. Tang Bing was now a captain in the battling dragon camp and Ling Xiao's immediate superior. However, many people were very disdainful of this kind of martial artist who relied on medicinal pills to advance. There were also rumors and slanders in the army. However, Tang Yi was a tribunus, and because of the death of his son and grandson, no one cared about him. He could still live for a long time. As long as he could train Tang Bing into a captain, it would be worth it even if he died. Senior officer is right. Tang Bing is really outstanding among the young people. Yan Bing said something that didn't match her heart. She couldn't help it. Tang Yi was more senior than her. Anyway, it was just a compliment. She wouldn't lose anything. If that Ling Xiao was still alive, he wouldn't be a match for Tang Bing. Tang, he suddenly said fiercely. Chapter 3666. Old Commanding Officer, you still can't forget about Ling Xiao. In my opinion, he forced his way into the bloody battlefield with his cultivation at the 4th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Now that half a month has passed, he should be dead. Yan Bing shook her head. I hope so, but if he's still alive, I won't let him go. Tang, he snorted. He didn't tell anyone that he was injured by Ling Xiao. In fact, this was the reason why he killed Ling Xiao. He couldn't let such a scandal spread. At this moment, there was a commotion. A Purple Mansion soldier came to reporting to the 2 captains. Someone is leaving the camp. He's been stopped. So what if he's leaving? As long as he has the permission of his superiors. Maybe he's going out to carry out a mission. Yan Bing didn't take it seriously. They were captains, a mere Purple Mansion soldier. They were the weakest in the Purple Mansion army. Why would they care about it personally? It was enough for a corporal to handle it. That person is called Ling Xiao. The corporal looked at Tang Yi and said, Ling Xiao. Hearing this name, Tang Yi stood up abruptly. Are you sure? It's absolutely true. Corporal Tang Bing and the other corporals are stopping him. He didn't force his way in. The corporal replied. Tang Yi didn't say anything. His body flashed and he dashed out. Yan Bing knew that things weren't going well and followed him. She was still puzzled. Ling Xiao actually came back alive. This young man had given them too many surprises during the test. Now it was too surprising. Ling Xiao looked at the 100 or so corporals and frowned. He then looked at Tang Bing in the crowd and frowned even more. How did this bastard enter the Purple Mansion army? It seemed like the Purple Mansion army wasn't as strict as the rumors said. As long as one had connections, they could let anyone in. He knew that he couldn't force his way in. If he were to force his way into this matter, he would be in the wrong. After all, he was still a soldier of the Purple Mansion army. He still had to abide by military discipline. I wonder who is the current Chiliarch of the Battling Dragon camp? Ling Xiao asked. Chiliarch? You don't have the right to see me. I'm your boss now, your corporal. Tang Bing walked out from the crowd. Being eliminated in the assessment had always been Tang Bing's pain. Although he had entered again, he was carrying the burden of entering through the back door. This kind of person might be fine in the Z Mansion army, but on the bloody battlefield, he would not be able to do well. She would always be laughed at. You're my sergeant? Ling Xiao glanced at Tang Bing and mocked. You think you're worthy? That old bastard Tang, he must have opened the back door for you. To tell the truth, with Ling Xiao's current strength, he had no idea how strong Ling Xiao was. Unless it was a 2nd-level divine core warrior, Jiang Chen wouldn't be afraid even if Tang Yi came here personally. Not to mention a mere corporal. He could cripple the other party with just a flick of his finger. This Tang Bing actually dared to behave atrociously in front of him. He really didn't learn his lesson. Shut up! Tang Bing was infuriated. This Ling Xiao was too daring. He even dared to insult his grandfather. You're the one who should shut up. All right, I'm in a hurry, so I'll leave first. There's so many people here today. I'll ask for a leave of absence in front of them. I have something urgent to attend to. Ling Xiao didn't want to argue with this little trash Tang Bing. He just wanted to leave, although Zilong's life was no longer in danger. But for something like this, the longer he delayed, the more trouble he would have to face. If the 9 Lives flower couldn't help Zilong, he would be in big trouble. Therefore, he really had to hurry. If there was no other way, he would have to force his way in. What a joke! Do you think I'll approve? Tang Bing said with disdain. You won't approve? Fine. In front of so many people, I'll make you lose your position as a corporal. I want to challenge you. Although he had successfully challenged Lei Bao last time, he still couldn't become a corporal, because Tang Chu Nunnery didn't approve. Therefore, this time he could still challenge Lei Bao. Challenge? Hee hee, fine, give it a try then. With my grandfather's help, my cultivation has reached the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. You're just a trash at the 4th level of the Divine Vein Realm. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Go to hell." After saying that, Tang Bing used the 9 stacks of demonic execution to kill Ling Xiao. He had always wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Previously, he didn't have the strength, so he didn't have the confidence. But now it was different. His cultivation had improved greatly, and it was time for revenge. The other corporals and soldiers were standing there to watch the show. Everyone knew that Tang Bing was brought in by Tang Yi through the back door. Offending Tang Bing was the same as offending Tang Yi. They wouldn't ask for a rebuff. This challenge was proposed by Ling Xiao. Tang Bing had a legitimate reason to deal with Ling Xiao. If he were to accidentally kill Ling Xiao in battle, he believed that his grandfather would be able to settle the matter, although that was against military discipline. But who asked him to have such a strong background? Looking at Tang Bing's 9 stacks of demonic execution, Ling Xiao suddenly felt that this guy was a little pitiful. Tang Mo's 9 stacks of demonic execution was stronger than this guy. If they were on the blood battlefield, he would definitely kill Tang Bing in one move. But this was the Z Mansion army after all, and he couldn't kill people casually. He was an ordinary soldier and didn't have any backing. But teaching Tang Bing a lesson was no problem. He didn't need to use any moves. He walked straight up. The earth-shattering 9 stacks of demonic execution was easily blocked by his bare hands, and then it stopped abruptly. Slap! A slap landed on his face. Half of Tang Bing's face swelled up. Slap! Another slap, and the other half of Tang Bing's face also swelled up. In the end, Ling Xiao kicked Tang Bing's crotch and sent him flying. This grandson was in so much pain that he covered his crotch and rolled around in pain, crying for his father and mother. Seeing this scene, everyone else was stunned, completely dumbfounded. Is this still Ling Xiao? He's too strong. He blocked a 1st-level Emperor-class martial skill with his bare hands. Are you kidding me? What is his cultivation level? Everyone was discussing, but no one dared to help Tang Bing up. They didn't want to offend Tang Yi, but they also didn't want to offend Ling Xiao. This Ling Xiao was too strong. Perhaps his current strength couldn't be judged by his past strength. How dare you hit a sergeant in broad daylight? Do you still have any military discipline in your eyes? Right at this moment, an old man helped Tang Bing up. He stared at Ling Xiao and furiously roared out, "Tang Yi, you're old. Don't be so rash. I violated military discipline? I think you're mistaken. I was just challenging a sergeant." Who was the one who made this piece of trash a sergeant? Isn't he just looking for trouble? Who dares to be my sergeant in my troop? Ling Xiao stared at Tang Yi without showing any fear. He said with a cold smile on his face. In the past, he had only managed to injure Tang Yi after using all sorts of methods. But now he was no longer afraid of Tang Yi. Tang Yi was just a new divine core warrior. He didn't even need to use the martial soul of Tyrant to kill Tang Yi, just like how he killed the president of the Sworn Society. The blood lightning god was a heaven-defying divine skill. Although it consumed a lot of upper-grade soul stones, it was still extraordinarily powerful. Chapter 36-67. Grandfather, kill him now. Tang Bing howled out in anger and pain. Don't worry, my good grandson. Grandfather will definitely help you vent your anger. As a major, Tang Bing was above all others. Even if Tang Yi killed a few ordinary Purple Palace soldiers, it wasn't a big deal, even though it was against military discipline. But who would blame a major for killing a few Purple Palace soldiers? Even if this matter was brought to the king of the Purple Palace, no one would say anything. He circulated his energy and unleashed a frightening aura. He was about to attack Ling Xiao. Senior officer, please wait. Yan Bing hurriedly stopped Tang Yi and said, This Ling Xiao has a close relationship with the King Mansion. You better be careful. If you kill him, the Purple Palace army might not blame you, but the King Mansion will definitely cause you trouble. It's not worth it. The King Mansion will blame me for a trash like him? Ridiculous. Yen Bing, don't try to stop me, or else I'll beat you up too. His son had been killed, Tang Mo's grandson had been killed, and this time Tang Bing's grandson had been kicked to the point where he almost had no descendants. How could he not kill Ling Xiao? That's enough. You two can stop arguing. Lieutenant Yen Bing, since you're here, things will be easier. I have an urgent matter to attend to in the King Mansion. It's urgent. I'll explain everything to you later. I'll take my leave now. Ling Xiao didn't look at Tang Yi. He just cupped his fist toward Yen Bing. In his impression, Yen Bing was a fair and just person. Besides, Yen Bing was Fang Ming's man. Fang Ming was a major as well, and he had a good relationship with Zilong. As long as Zilong said something, this matter wouldn't be a problem. Therefore, he didn't want to waste any more time. He stomped his foot and activated the cosmic body. Blood-red lightning surrounded him as he sped away. With his speed, he might not be a match for a second-level Divine Core Warrior, but a first-level Divine Core Warrior would never be able to catch up with him. Humph, you're courting death. Seeing Ling Xiao escape from the inner city, Tang Yi laughed. There was nothing he could do in the Purple Palace army. But in the outside world, even if he killed Ling Xiao, he could do it without anyone knowing. Just like when Ling Xiao killed Tang Chuyuan and Lei Bao, the Purple Mansion army couldn't find anything. However, Tang Yi was shocked and helpless. As soon as Ling Xiao left, he chased after him. However, Ling Xiao was nowhere to be seen. He said he wants to go to the king's residence. I'll wait near the king's residence. Since he could not catch up, Tang Yi simply changed his strategy. He chased after Ling Xiao all the way to the king's residence, but he did not see any sign of Ling Xiao. He heard a few passers-by talking about it. There was indeed a red shadow that was heading in the direction of the monarch palace. He could finally confirm it. Ling Xiao did not say anything. That kid really did go to the king's residence. The king's residence was actually a small imperial city. The internal structure of the city was also very complicated. The Purple Spirit capital city did not have any walls. However, the monarch's residence had them. The walls sealed off everything from the outside, and no one knew what secrets were hidden inside. However, there were rumors saying that the overall strength of the king's residence was comparable to the million-strong Purple Mansion army. When he arrived at the entrance of the king's residence, Ling Xiao immediately released Zilong from the beast ring. He carried him on his back. Zilong was the pass. It allowed him to travel freely in the king's residence. The reason why he didn't let Zilong out when he was in the Purple Mansion army was because Zilong's prestige in the Purple Mansion army couldn't be compared to the king's residence. His speed was much faster than those who came to report to him. He arrived in front of the king's palace. Only then was he stopped by two Divine Core Warriors. Young Master Zilong is severely injured. He wants to see the king. Ling Xiao's words were simple. We'll bring young Master to see the king. You just wait here. The two men said, Bastard, how dare you stop me? Apart from my sister and brother Ling, I don't trust anyone else. Get lost. Zilong said furiously. When the two men saw that Zilong was angry, they had no choice but to open up a path for him. Right at this moment, Zi Qinya appeared in front of them. This mighty king unleashed a frightening killing intent when he saw his younger brother was severely injured. It almost made Ling Xiao feel as though there were thousands of soldiers and horses charging towards him. It was a very real feeling. Luckily, the killing intent only lasted for a split second before it disappeared. Bring him in. Zi Qinya didn't ask any questions. He just looked at Ling Xiao and said, she didn't know what was the relationship between Ling Xiao and Zilong, but she remembered that Ling Xiao had saved Zilong's life once. Although Zilong's life wasn't in danger, his inner core was severely damaged. He urgently needed treatment. Otherwise, if it was delayed any longer, it would really cause a permanent contusion. If that happened, he would be beyond saving. After arriving at the king's residence, Ling Xiao placed Zilong on the bed. Ziqinya had already summoned some imperial physicians. These imperial physicians were all powerful martial artists. One of them was a divine core warrior. King, young master's condition isn't good, although his internal injuries are mostly healed after consuming the healing pill. But the damage to his inner core is very troublesome. We need a certain herb to cure it. Otherwise, although he won't die, his inner core will shatter and he will become a cripple. The imperial physician lowered his head, not daring to look at Ziqinya. What herb is it? Ziqinya asked. 9 lives flower. Ling Xiao said, I heard from young Master Zilong that the 9 lives flower is with Lieutenant General Yu Qilong. Is that so? Ziqinya looked at the imperial physician and asked. That's right, the 9 lives flower is the herb. But the problem is, young Master Zilong has wasted too much time. This herb alone isn't enough. It needs to be combined with 49 other herbs to concoct the 9 lives pill. Too bad, the 9 lives pill is extremely difficult to concoct, and the alchemists of our tiny purple spirit kingdom have to concoct this pill. The highest success rate is only 30%. I'm afraid we'll need a few more 9 lives flowers. The imperial physician said with a frown. Go find Lieutenant General Yu Qilong. Tell him I want to see him. If possible, ask him to bring a few more 9 lives flowers and come back as soon as possible. Ziqinya wanted to go personally, but when he thought of his brother lying on the sickbed, he didn't want to leave. Therefore, he had no choice but to send his right-hand man. Right at this moment, many mighty warriors had gathered in the king's palace. Most of them were mighty warriors from the Z family, and many of them were divine core warriors. Ling Xiao had rushed in here, so how could they not know that Zilong was in trouble? The man hurriedly left. Ziqinya's expression was solemn. Inside the room, there were only the imperial physician, Zilong, Ziqinya, and Ling Xiao. Everyone else was standing outside the room, not daring to enter. Qinya, I heard Xiaolong is injured. Suddenly, an old lady walked into the room. She was holding a dragon head walking stick. She was very old. Although she was weaker than Ziqinya, she was still a divine core warrior. Grandma, why are you here? Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Ziqinya hurriedly walked up to the old lady and helped her up. You've always been strong since you were young. Don't always shoulder the burden alone. Not all of us from the Z family are dead yet. Who dares hurt my Xiaolong? Even if I have to sacrifice all of my old bones, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death, the old lady said furiously. Chapter 36:68. Grandma, don't be angry. Xiaolong will be saved. As long as Yu Qilong brings the 9 lives flower, everything will be fine. Ziqinya hid her hatred in her heart. She didn't want her anger to cause chaos in the king's mansion, but now she was angrier than anyone else. This was Ziling Kingdom. She was the king here. Her brother, Zilong, had been assassinated twice. They didn't take her seriously at all, and until now, she still couldn't find out who wanted to kill her brother. She didn't even know if the person was really after her brother or after her. Who is this little guy? The old lady suddenly saw Ling Xiao and was curious. He brought Xiaolong back. They entered the bloody battlefield together. Ziqinya answered, Oh, not bad, little guy. You're not as strong as Xiaolong. You can come and go freely in the bloody battlefield without any injuries. That's rare. The old lady squinted at Ling Xiao and smiled. Thank you for the compliment. I was just lucky. Ling Xiao knew that the old lady was somewhat suspicious of him. After all, he was so weak and had saved Zilong twice. It was too much of a coincidence. As long as it wasn't too bad, He didn't want to pursue it. Grandma, I don't like what you said. Zilong suddenly said, Ling Xiao saved my life twice. The second time he was almost killed. You shouldn't doubt him. If he didn't give me a healing pill on the way, I would have died. It's better to doubt your grandson than him. Okay. I won't doubt anyone. Little guy, you should rest well. The old lady comforted Zilong, then looked at Ling Xiao and said, I'm old and dim-sighted. If I said something that offended you, please forgive me. No, you're as kind as my grandfather. I won't fuss over such a small thing. Ling Xiao shook his head. It's good that you don't fuss over it. Oh, right, about what happened on the bloody battlefield. Can you let me listen to it? The old lady's tone was much kinder. In fact, this was exactly what Zi Qinya wanted to know. They wanted to analyze some clues from it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to rest easy as long as the murderer wasn't caught. No problem. Ling Xiao stated the matter objectively in a very objective tone. He did not add his own subjective speculations. After all, it would be troublesome to talk about things without any evidence. If things didn't go well, it would be a fatal disaster. After listening to Ling Xiao's words, both Zi Qinya and the old lady were shocked by Ling Xiao's strength. In just half a month, his cultivation had risen from the 4th level of the Divine Vein Realm to the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. This in itself was already extremely heaven-defying. Furthermore, with his 8th level Divine Vein cultivation base, he was able to severely injure a 2nd level Divine Core Warrior. This was truly inconceivable. If it wasn't for Zi Long nodding his head, they wouldn't have believed it. Saving Zi Long the first time could be attributed to luck. The second time, this was a display of true strength. However, Ling Xiao did not mention the details of the process. For example, he wouldn't tell them about his rebirth from the ashes and the blood lightning god. But both Zi Qinya and the old lady were smart people. Knowing the real process might be even more thrilling than what Ling Xiao had told them. They had no choice but to admit that Ling Xiao was indeed extraordinary. No wonder Zi Long chose to befriend him. They had underestimated this little guy. Ha, not bad, little guy. This grandson of mine has been spoiled since he was young. He has his eyes on the top of his head, and his personality is extremely arrogant. He doesn't take any ordinary people seriously, let alone befriending him. You're not bad at all. You're able to make this grandson of mine obey you. This is rare. The old lady laughed out loud. It seemed like the grudge she had with Jiangqin had disappeared. Little brother, who do you think is the murderer of Zilong? Zi Qinya suddenly asked. Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile, Even you can't guess it, I'm just a nobody. How could I guess it? All I know is that those who entered the bloody battlefield are from the Zi Palace army. Ling Xiao didn't want to get involved in a grudge like this. Therefore, he only said a sentence that everyone knew, which was equivalent to not saying anything. You're not a nobody. Not only are you strong and talented, you're also very smart. There was no way Ling Xiao could hide his thoughts from these 2 female foxes. But he didn't care. So what if they found out? If he didn't want to tell them, no one could force him. Big sister, Grandma, I've embarrassed you. Zilong let out a sigh. He felt that he was still too weak, at least when compared to Ling Xiao. He really couldn't. If it was Ling Xiao, perhaps he wouldn't be so miserable. What's there to be embarrassed about? He's a 2nd level Divine Core Warrior, and he's obviously an experienced man. Compared to him, you're still too young. It's normal that you can't defeat him. You're lucky to be able to keep your life, so don't think too much about it. What you need to do now is to focus on recovering. As for other things, you have Big Sister and Grandma. We won't let you suffer for nothing. Zi Qinya said with a smile, Big Sister, do you think it was Yu Qilong who sent those men to kill me? Zi Long was different from Ling Xiao. He wasn't afraid to mention that man's name in front of his big sister. Xiao Long. Although Big Sister doesn't like Yu Qilong, he's not a despicable man. If he really wanted to kill you, he wouldn't have chosen to do it in the bloody battlefield. Isn't that telling everyone that it was the Z Mansion army who did it? Besides, he used the 100 Steps divine fist. It's obvious that he's framing the Z Mansion army. Z Chinya said with a smile. Hearing this, Zilong let out a helpless sigh. His big sister seemed to have a lot of trust in the Z Mansion army. Even this annoying Yu Qilong didn't suspect anything. Since he didn't have any evidence, he had no choice but to shut his mouth. Lord, General Yu is here. A voice came from outside. Let him in, quick! Z Chinya hurriedly went out to welcome him. After that, he walked into the room together with Yu Qilong. Z Chinya's trust in Yu Qilong wasn't without reason. Yu Qilong didn't refuse at all and took out 2 9 lives flowers. Their Yu clan only had 3 stalks of 9 lives flower. This made Zilong feel a little guilty. He felt that he might have wronged Big Brother Zilong. Judging from the past, Big Brother Qilong was really good to him. They walked into the room. Yu Qilong saw Ling Xiao and said with a smile, "You're Ling Xiao, right? You've made a great contribution by saving Zilong. When we go back, I'll reward you handsomely." Although he said so, Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye caught a trace of killing intent. He wants to kill me? Why? Because I violated military discipline? Or because I saved Zilong? Ling Xiao frowned slightly. The matter inside was really too complicated. He really didn't want to deduce. Chapter 3669. Thank you, General. Ling Xiao cupped his fists and said, without batting an eyelid. Yu Qilong nodded and looked at Zilong. Brother Qilong, you are in the wrong this time. If I had known, I would have sent experts to help you. Sigh, the 100 Steps divine fist is a martial technique that only major generals in the Purple Mansion army are qualified to cultivate. Who could it be? Qilong, don't worry too much. The Purple Spirit Kingdom isn't the only entrance to the bloody battlefield. Maybe it's someone from other places. Z Chinya said. No, this is a serious matter. If we don't investigate properly, we will be criticized. Chinya Xiaolong, don't worry. When I return, I will investigate thoroughly. Yu Qilong gritted his teeth and said, Chinya, look at Qilong. He treats Xiaolong really well. It's not good for you to ignore people all the time. The old lady was touched by Yu Qilong's words. Yu Qilong quickly took out a jade box with 2 9 lives flowers. Let's not talk about other things. I brought the 9 lives flowers. But what about the pill refining? Do you want me to ask Father to send experts from the royal city? It's too late. Z Chinya shook his head and said, Let my alchemist try. Whether it succeeds or not, it will depend on Xiaolong's luck. The 9 lives flower needed to be refined into a 9 lives pill. This was something Ling Xiao didn't expect. Seeing Z Chinya in a difficult position, he smiled and said, Ruler, are you willing to trust me? What do you mean? Z Chinya asked curiously. My strength isn't that great, but I know a little about alchemy. Why don't you leave the refining of the 9 lives pill to me? Ling Xiao said. Nonsense. You are only in the first revolution. Although I am grateful that you saved Zilong, you can't waste the 9 lives flower like this. There are only 2 9 lives flowers. Without waiting for Z Chinya to say anything, Yu Qilong said sternly, Enough. Go back to the Purple Mansion army. You have no business here. As for the reward, I will give it to you when I return. Big Brother Qilong, let him try. Don't we have 2 9 lives flowers? One for Brotherling, and the other for the alchemist of the country, Lord's Mansion. It's safer this way, Zilong suddenly said. Since Xiaolong has said so, I think we should do as he says. Z Chinya added. Actually, she had only given the 2 9 lives flowers to the alchemists in her residence to try her luck, because the success rate of only 30% was too low. He might as well take a gamble. This Ling Xiao had created miracles time and time again. Perhaps he could really create another miracle this time. Forget it. Since that's the case, I won't say anything more. How about this, Ling Xiao? You can stay here for the time being to refine pills. As for the Purple Mansion Army, I will help you suppress them. No one will say anything. Qianya, I'm going back to investigate Zilong's assassination. If one looked at Yu Qilong from the surface, there really wasn't any problem. He had no reason to assassinate Zilong. Moreover, he had given 2 9 lives flowers to him without hesitation. Everything was well done. However, for some reason, Ling Xiao felt that this person was very hypocritical and unreliable. But because it was just his own feeling, he didn't say it out loud. Let me send you out. Zi Qianya's attitude toward Qi Long was obviously much better. In the past, she had always kept Qi Long at arm's length as if she was afraid that something would happen between them. But now it was very different. At the very least, she was treating Qi Long like a friend. After Zi Qianya returned, Ling Xiao said, "Country lord, please arrange a quiet place for me to refine pills. It's best if it's a place with abundant spiritual qi." "No problem. Don't you need a furnace?" "Our country, Lord's Mansion, has very good furnaces," Zi Qianya asked. "I don't need one." Ling Xiao shook his head and said, "This matter should not be delayed. Take me to a quiet place with abundant spiritual qi." "How many days will it take for you to finish refining pills?" Zi Qianya asked again. After all, the longer it took, the more unfavorable it would be for Zilong. "It'll be done today." Ling Xiao was very confident. But the herbs to refine the 9 life pill still need to be provided by the country Lord's Mansion. I've already asked someone to collect 10 sets. How many sets do you need? Zi Qianya asked. 1 set is enough. Anyway, it's just a 9 life flower. If it doesn't succeed, it's meaningless to ask for so many. Okay, men, take Ling Xiao to Dansha Hall. Without his permission, no one is allowed to enter. Otherwise, kill. After Zi Qianya sent Ling Xiao away, she summoned the best alchemist in the country Lord's Mansion. She asked the same question. However, when it came to time, the alchemist said, "It'll take at least 10 days to succeed." 10 days? Others don't even need a day. Zi Qianya frowned and said, "Country lord, don't be fooled by the swindler. It's common knowledge to refine the 9 life pill in 10 days. Besides, the success rate of 1 9 life flower is too low. Country lord, you'd better ask the swindler for the 9 life flower and let me refine it." The alchemist, Gui Su, said, "Gui Su, if there are 2 9 life flowers, can you guarantee success?" Zi Qianya asked. "No, but at least I can increase the success rate." Gui Su replied, "Then forget it. Quickly go and refine the pills. Don't let an outsider get ahead of you." Zi Qianya waved his hand and said, "Yes, country lord." Gui Su was unhappy that the country lord didn't believe him and would rather believe a swindler. This made him a little dissatisfied. However, the country lord was the country lord. He didn't dare to have any complaints. He could only go and refine the pills. After that, he waited. About an hour later, suddenly, a strange fragrance filled the entire country Lord's Mansion. In Dansha Hall, Ling Xiao smiled. In the immortal fire, 3 9 life pills were spinning, and the fragrance was enchanting. "Kid, you're really going to graduate. It's difficult for others to refine a 9 life pill with a single 9 life flower, but you can refine 3 perfect 9 life pills with a single 9 life flower. TSK, TSK. Such a technique is unique even in the immortal court. I really didn't choose the wrong person." The Yuan Venerate was very happy when he saw the 3 9 life pills. "Thank you for the compliment, master. Zi Long only needs 1 of these 9 life pills. I'll keep the other 2 for myself. In case my inner core is damaged, these 9 life pills are excellent pills." Ling Xiao put 2 of the 9 life pills into his storage ring. The 3rd pill was placed in a jade box that he had prepared beforehand. At the same time, the country lord's palace where Zilong was located was really gloomy. News had just come that the alchemist Gui Su had failed to refine the 9-life pill. Just because he had added a little too much of a medicinal ingredient, it had caused an uproar just as the refinement started. Gui Su knelt there with an ugly expression on his face. "Your Majesty, please quickly bring me the other 9 lives flower so that I can try it. As the saying goes, a fall into the pit, a gain in your wit. I will definitely succeed." Chapter 3670. Zi Qinya was hesitating as well. If there were 2 9 lives flowers, she could let Ling Xiao try. But if there was only 1 left, she couldn't afford to lose. Just as she was about to give the order, a strange fragrance suddenly assaulted her nose. "What's going on?" Zi Qinya asked. "My lord, it's coming from the direction of the Danxia Palace. Could it be that he succeeded in concocting the pill?" "No way, it's only been an hour." Zi Qinya was completely dumbfounded, but after a brief moment, Ling Xiao walked into the room excitedly. He even forgot about the announcement. As for Gui Su, who was kneeling on the floor, he didn't even look at him. "Xiaolong, hurry up and eat this 9 lives pill. I told you, you've profited from a disaster." He didn't even look at Zi Qinya and old madam. He walked straight to the bed and gave the 9 lives pill to Zilong. Zilong trusted Ling Xiao, just like how he trusted his own sister. Therefore, before anyone could say anything, he swallowed the pill. After a brief moment, 9 different colored lights shone from Zilong's body. Following that, he let out a painful roar. A mouthful of black blood was spat out. Zi Qinya was about to rush over. "Stop! No one is allowed to come over." But he was stopped by Ling Xiao's shout. After spitting out the mouthful of blood, Zilong's pale face instantly regained its color. Then he walked down from the bed. Circulating his true yuan, he charged toward Zi Qinya. Zi Qinya easily blocked his attack. Zi Qinya was surprised. "Xiaolong, you've broken through to the 2nd-tier divine core realm. Hee, now you know how powerful my brother is, right?" "Ling Xiao, no. I'll call you Brother Ling Xiao from now on. You're qualified to call me that." Zilong was extremely excited. This time, not only had his injuries healed, he had also broken through to the next realm. Just like what Ling Xiao said, he had profited from a disaster. "You can leave now." Zi Qinya glanced at Gui Su and said, "You should thank him for helping you. If it wasn't for his success, I wouldn't be in such a good mood." Gui Su would thank Ling Xiao? No, he hated Ling Xiao to the core. If Ling Xiao also failed, then it would prove his words that the 9 lives pill was extremely difficult to refine. But now Ling Xiao had succeeded. Wouldn't that mean that he was incompetent? Clearly, Ling Xiao had done nothing wrong in this matter, but the sinkhole hated Ling Xiao. Before he left, he glared fiercely at Ling Xiao. Only then did he turn around and leave. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know about this. He was still immersed in the joy of the purple dragon's recovery. The old madam and Zi Qinya were also very happy. At the same time, the good news spread throughout the king's mansion. At that moment, most of the people in the king's residence were overjoyed. "Sister, let's not just celebrate. We haven't thanked Brother Ling Xiao yet." Now that Zilong called Ling Xiao Big Brother Ling Xiao, it was really smooth. Hearing Zilong's words, Zi Qinya nodded and said, "Pass down the order. Set up a banquet. I want to treat the benefactor of the king's residence well." The banquet at the king's residence was very lively, but Ling Xiao didn't like this kind of liveliness. Zi Qinya seemed to have seen through him, so she ordered everyone to eat. Instead, she brought Ling Xiao and Zilong to the top of the pavilion and looked down at the entire purple spirit capital. She chuckled and said, "Ling Xiao, tell me, what reward do you want? As long as it's something I can do, I'll give it to you." She had to give him a reward. Otherwise, it would be difficult to repay a favor. To be honest, Ling Xiao really hadn't thought of what he wanted. It was not that he didn't need it, but it was precisely because he needed too many things now. The 9 transformation technique was gradually unable to keep up with the improvement of his strength. A set of second-level Emperor-class martial arts techniques was a must. In addition, he also needed the Demon Beast Crystal Core, especially the Demon Beast Crystal Core that could help his beast soul level up. He still needed a lot. In addition, he needed as many upper-level spirit stones as there were. Don't worry, you can think about it slowly. Zi Qinya smiled and said, "There's another thing that I want to tell you. Do you know that the small purple spirit nation will hold a national martial arts competition in 3 days?" I really didn't know about this. Even in front of Zi Qinya, Ling Xiao's performance was still as calm as ever. He wasn't overbearing or arrogant, but he wasn't afraid or nervous either. He was neither servile nor overbearing. Wow, so the National Martial Arts Competition is in 3 days. I almost forgot. Zi Long said excitedly, Brother Ling Xiao. This National Martial Arts Competition is amazing. As long as you're below 30 years old and your cultivation is above the 6th level of the Divine Vein Realm, you can participate. The champion of the martial arts competition will not only get 5 million upper-level spirit stones as a reward. There are other good things too. Can I participate in this martial arts competition? Hearing that there were 5 million upper-level spirit stones as a reward, Ling Xiao was tempted. After he obtained the Crimson Thunder God, he could spend money like water. With 5 million upper-level spirit stones, he could at least use it for a while. Of course you can. I'm telling you this because I want you to participate in this martial arts competition. In addition to the 5 million upper-level spirit stones, the top 3 of the martial arts competition can also become my inner disciple. I'll personally teach you and answer your doubts. Zi Qinya looked at Ling Xiao, hoping to see excitement on Ling Xiao's face, but she was disappointed. Compared to the 5 million upper-level spirit stones just now, this reward didn't seem to attract Ling Xiao at all. You don't want to be my disciple? Zi Qinya was surprised. I just think that the monarch seems to be a little stingy. Ling Xiao smiled and said, I've saved young Master Zilong twice, if you really want to thank me. If you really want to thank me, you can take me as your disciple directly. If I participate in the martial arts competition and get the first place, it's my own strength. That's my own ability. It can't be considered a reward or a thank you at all. Yes, sister, you're too stingy. Zi Long teased as well. Cough, cough. Zi Qinya, am very particular when I accept a disciple. How can I accept one so easily? If others knew about this, they would say I'm messing around. Zi Qinya let out 2 dry coughs and said, All right, this isn't a reward. Just treat it as my expectation. Zi Long smiled and said, Brother Ling Xiao, the reward is something else. You have to participate in this martial arts competition. Although 5 million upper-level spirit stones isn't a small amount. But if you become my sister's inner disciple, you'll get a lot of benefits. In this tiny violet spirit kingdom, more than 1 billion young men want to become her inner disciple. Actually, Ling Xiao wasn't interested in becoming Zi Qinya's disciple. Zi Qinya was only a peak 5th heavenly core warrior. It wouldn't take long for him to surpass Zi Qinya. There was no need for that. Besides, he would soon leave this tiny violet spirit kingdom. Becoming a master didn't mean much to him. Although many people wanted to become Zi Qinya's disciple, Jiang Qin didn't care. He didn't have that kind of thought. Can I not become your disciple? Let's talk as equals. How about I call you sister like Zilong? Ling Xiao suddenly said. If it was his sister, he didn't need to care too much. Sometimes she was even closer than his master. If it was his master, didn't that mean he was a generation younger than Zilong? Chapter 3671. Hee, you're an interesting young man. Looks like your ambition doesn't lie in the Purple Kingdom. Zi Qianye smiled and said, "No problem. If you get first place, we'll call each other brother and sister. I'll treat you like my own brother. I'm sure Zi Long will be happy as well." For Zi Qianye, if Ling Xiao could really get first place in the national martial competition, it would mean that he was talented. If that was the case, then it meant that he had extraordinary talent. It was not a big deal for him to be his younger brother, master and disciple, or sister and brother. It was just a formality. She didn't care. What she cared about was Ling Xiao. "This is great. Then we'll really be brothers," Zi Long said excitedly. "But, Brother Ling Xiao, I'm worried for you. How dare you refuse to be sister's disciple? You're really something." "I believe Sister Queen isn't an unreasonable person." Ling Xiao smiled. His confidence came from what he had done. He had saved Zi Long's life twice, and he had concocted a 9-life pill within an hour. Others might not be able to concoct it in 10 days. Zi Qianye wouldn't kill him. At least, she wouldn't do it in front of Zi Long otherwise. The relationship between the two of them would never be the same as it used to be. Of course, he didn't think Zi Qianye was a stingy person. This was one of the most important reasons. If he became Zi Qianye's brother, his status would rise as well, although it might not be as high as Zi Long's. But in the Purple Kingdom, if anyone dared to bully him, they would have to look at the Buddha behind him. No one dared to offend him. "You seem to be very confident in yourself. The National Martial Competition has gathered all the geniuses from the Purple Spirit Kingdom. You can't be careless," Zi Qianye reminded him. "May I ask if there are any second-stage divine core warriors in the martial competition?" Ling Xiao asked with a smile on his face. "Of course there aren't any. After all, Xiaolong is the only one in the entire Purple Kingdom who is as lucky as him. I don't think there are any first-stage divine core warriors. A first-stage divine core warrior below 30 years old. Besides those geniuses from the King City, it's rare to find someone like this in our Purple Spirit Kingdom. Of course, I'm not sure. If you really do encounter it, you can only blame yourself for being unlucky. But as long as you can get into the top 3, I don't expect you to be the champion." Zi Qianye smiled. "That's simple. I dare say that no one below the divine vein realm is a match for me. If he didn't even have this bit of confidence, how would I dare to be your monarch's younger brother? Isn't that overestimating himself?" Ling Xiao said. Actually, Jiang Chen was being modest. If he had the chance, even if he was a second-level divine core warrior, he would still be able to defeat Jiang Chen. He might even be able to defeat him. In his eyes, a divine vein realm cultivator was no different from a wooden puppet that could not move. They were easily dealt with. Of course, he would not underestimate his opponent. After all, he was not the only genius in this world. Perhaps others could also challenge those of a higher level like him. "I hope you're confident and not conceited." Zi Qianye looked at Ling Xiao and said, "After all, even I wouldn't dare to say such words at your age. You'll be laughed at for boasting shamelessly. Why would I care if others laugh at me? Since the day I started practicing martial arts, there have been endless jokes. But those people have become jokes in front of me." Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone, "Sister Monarch, since we finished talking about the martial Dao competition, shouldn't we talk about the reward? Don't you think it's a bit vulgar to ask for a reward directly? It's as if you saved my Zi Long just to get some benefits." Zi Qianye laughed. Of course, she was joking. Vulgar? I'm just a vulgar person. I only know that it'll be a waste if I don't take something that can increase my strength. Saving Zi Long is my business, and it's up to Sister Monarch to ask for a reward or not. It's up to you. As long as you're not afraid of others calling you stingy, I don't care." Ling Xiao said with a smile. "You're really different from others. You're straightforward. How about this? To thank you for saving my Zi Long, I'll give you a gift. Also, I'll give you a divine Great Emperor weapon and a set of second-order Emperor martial skill." "What weapon do you use?" Zi Qianye asked. "Sword. Ling Xiao said. Okay, I'll take you to the monarch's mansion's private storage now. Among them were weapons and martial techniques. You can choose for yourself. Ziqinya was straightforward and directly brought Ling Xiao to the private storage. Since Zilong was bored, he followed along as well. The moment Ling Xiao stepped into the private storage, he opened his Tai Chi eye. In an instant, he found a good item. He cultivated the connate God-fiend sword soul, and the most suitable weapon for him was the yin-yang twin swords. The Ice Age was of the yin attribute, and if it was forcefully separated, its power would naturally be weakened. Therefore, he had been looking for a weapon that could be used together. That's it. Ling Xiao pointed in a direction. There was a black metal box over there. That won't do. Ziqinya frowned. Sister, you won't regret it, right? Zilong teased. Don't talk nonsense. That metal box has been sealed long ago. It's an evil sword, Bloody Sun World. Those who have used this sword have all died without a burial ground. Ziqinya explained. That's why this sword has been sealed. What if I want it? Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. I still can't give it to you. I can't harm you. Ziqinya shook his head. How about this? Let's do a test. Let's see if my life is tough enough, or if this evil sword is evil enough. Ling Xiao looked at Ziqinya and said. Ziqinya had no choice but to open the seal. In an instant, the temperature in the private storage increased by a lot. The Ice Age in Ling Xiao's storage ring reacted as well. It's indeed a good sword, a divine emperor weapon. I can use it until I reach the third divine core realm. During this period of time, this Bloody Sun World will be able to accompany me. Ling Xiao excitedly grabbed the sword. Just like the Ice Age, this sword was stubborn. Even in his hand, it was still resisting, as if it was going to rebel. Ling Xiao sneered. Then a frightening and domineering aura erupted from his body. In this universe, only I am the strongest. Even Ziqinya and Zilong were shocked by his aura. Both of them nearly kneeled down in front of Ling Xiao. Although Ling Xiao's overall strength was weaker than them, the aura he emitted was just too powerful. When the Bloody Sun World sensed the frightening aura, it immediately became obedient. Ling Xiao suddenly threw the sword into the air. Ziqinya and Zilong were startled. If the sword fell straight down, it would definitely pierce through Ling Xiao's head. Don't move, just watch. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at the Bloody Sun World. The sword did emit an evil aura, but in front of him it was nothing. When the tip of the sword was less than a foot away from Ling Xiao's head, something miraculous happened. That sword actually stopped on its own. It seems like my life is stronger than the evil qi of the sword. Ling Xiao let out a hearty laugh. He retracted the Bloody Sun World. Ziqinya was dumbfounded. Chapter 36-72. Seeing Ling Xiao put away the Blood Sun Palace, Ziqinya suddenly said, Actually, this Blood Sun World is just a replica. The real Blood Sun World is a genuine Heavenly King weapon. If you can break through to the third divine core realm, I'll give it to you. Really? Ling Xiao asked excitedly. Although I'm not a gentleman, I still keep my word. Ziqinya nodded her head. Thank you, Sister Monarch. Ling Xiao was really excited. The real Blood Sun World was a Heavenly King weapon, and it was on the same level as the 100 Transformations weapon. Once he broke through to the third divine core realm, he would be able to combine the two swords. The 100 Transformations weapon could turn into a treasured sword with the same element as the Ice Age. Don't thank me, this is your performance, and it's the decision I made. To be honest, Ziqinya never expected that Ling Xiao would be able to make the Blood Sun World submit to him, especially that terrifying domineering aura. It was as if he was the most powerful being in the world. Even Ziqinya was trembling. In front of her, Ling Xiao had become even more mysterious. Where's the martial skill you chose? Zilong asked. Zilong was curious about this brother of his, who wasn't his real brother, but was closer to him than his real brother. Ling Xiao responded with a smile. With a wave of his hand, a jade slip appeared in his hand. Emperor-level martial skills. Many of them couldn't be described with simple words. Most of them only had one source. Then they would be stored in something, and people would be able to comprehend them. Everyone would comprehend the same source, but the actual usage of the martial skill would be vastly different. A martial skill that was recorded in words might not be suitable for oneself, as it belonged to someone else's experience. It was too rigid. Therefore, it was better to use a martial skill that varied from person to person. Little guy, you have a good eye for martial skills. This is the best second-level Emperor class martial skill in our King's Mansion. When cultivated to the Great Perfection stage, it is comparable to a third-grade Emperor-level martial skill. When cultivated to the Perfection stage, it is even more incredible. But this martial skill is very difficult to cultivate. Even I could only cultivate to the first form. This martial skill only has a total of 4 moves. No one has ever successfully learned the last 3 moves. Zi Qinya truly admired Ling Xiao's foresight. Then I'm in luck. Ling Xiao looked at the jade tablet. There were only 3 words written on it: Blood Shadow Sword. He hadn't read the details yet. He hoped that he could master the first move by the time of the National Martial Arts Competition. Although the power of the last move of the 9 Revolutions Godly Demon Technique was comparable to a low-grade second-order Emperor-class martial skill, it was only a matter of time. However, compared to a true high-grade second-order Emperor-grade martial skill, its power was still far inferior. This could become one of Ling Xiao's trump cards. All right, I won't disturb your cultivation anymore. Zi Long will arrange a room for you. Cultivate well and prepare for the National Martial Arts Competition in 3 days. Zi Qinya smiled. He led them out of the private vault. This private storehouse was equivalent to the combination of a large sex armory and a book collection vault. Not only was it heavily guarded, but it was also heavily guarded. If not for Zi Qinya, even Yu Qilong wouldn't be able to break in. Let's go, Brother Ling Xiao. I will take you to your room. You can stay next to me. Zi Long grabbed Ling Xiao's arm and said excitedly. This Zi Long was still a child after all. Compared to the mature Ling Xiao, Zi Long was much younger. Of course, that was only his mental age. On the way, Zi Long filled Ling Xiao in on the details of the National Martial Arts Competition. Other than the 5 million superior grade spirit stones and the title of the Lord's inner disciple, there were other rewards. In addition, there were 3 purple sun pills and an oracle bone fossil. The purple sun pill was needless to say. Ling Xiao only needed 2 more pills to complete the 10 pills. With these 3 pills, he could begin to make the purple sun fortune pill. As for the oracle bone fossil, he had heard of it before. It was a key material for the cultivation of defensive martial arts or physique. Ling Xiao's divine body of the black tortoise was a little outdated. Obtaining this oracle bone fossil was also extremely beneficial to him. However, other than the apprenticeship, the other rewards could only be obtained by the champion. This time he had to give it his all. He could not lose to the geniuses of the small purple spirit kingdom. After returning to the room, Ling Xiao and Zi Long went to cultivate separately. Zi Long had just broken through and needed to consolidate his cultivation. Ling Xiao had obtained the Blood Shadow Sword and needed to cultivate. At the same time, Yu Qilong had returned to his mansion in Chaiyang City. Tang Yi was kneeling in front of him, not daring to move. Tang Yi was yelled at by Yu Qilong outside the Lord's mansion. Tang Yi was really shocked at that time. He did not know how he offended Yu Qilong. Even now he was still in a daze. Where were you waiting for Ling Xiao just now? Yu Qilong finally spoke. Tang Yi heaved a sigh of relief. That deathly silence was enough to scare someone to death. Yes, General. That Ling Xiao had no respect for his superior. He injured the corporal and escaped from Chaoyang City. Tang, he hastily said, I don't want to hear about this. Tell me the real Ling Xiao. Everything you know. I don't want to hear any exaggeration. Also, don't hide anything from me. You know my temper. A mere captain was nothing in front of a lieutenant general. Yu Qilong didn't even ask Tang Yi to stand up. Instead, he asked him to kneel down. But Tang Yi didn't complain. After hearing what Yu Qilong said, he suddenly realized something. Ling Xiao must have offended this lieutenant general. Just as well, I'll tell him everything I know and let this Ling Xiao have his way. Of course, he didn't dare to exaggerate. A 4th-level divine core warrior's divine sense was extremely powerful. As long as he lied, Yu Qilong would be able to tell. But Tang Yi still hid some things. He believed that Yu Qilong wouldn't be able to tell. The thing he hid was that he was seriously injured by Ling Xiao. It was too embarrassing, and he couldn't bring himself to say it. As for the rest, he told Yu Qilong everything. In fact, he knew a lot of things about Ling Xiao. He knew about how Ling Xiao killed Lei Bao, Tang Chununri, and Cheng Qian. Great, this is great. He actually killed my sergeant, centurion, and even a chiliarch. Even a 9th-level divine vein realm martial artist isn't a match for him? Yu Qilong was actually very surprised. He didn't know what had happened to Ling Xiao before, but now that he knew, he felt like he had invited a wolf into his house. He didn't like this kind of wild and unruly man. He preferred dogs, obedient dogs. Since he couldn't keep this kind of man for his own use, he had to kill him. Report. Right at this moment, a black figure dashed into the room. Tang Yi, you can get lost now. Yu Qilong sent Tang Yi away. Then he turned to the black figure and said, Tell me what happened. General, the King Palace has successfully concocted the 9 lives pill. The black figure said, That's impossible. I've obviously done something to those 2 9 lives flowers. Even the alchemists in the King City wouldn't be able to do it. Gui Su from the King Palace doesn't have the ability to do so. Yu Qilong shouted. Chapter 3673. Not Gui Su, it's Ling Xiao. The black figure answered. Ling Xiao, how is this possible? Are you sure? Yu Qilong was shocked. General, my information has never been wrong. It was that Ling Xiao who concocted the 9 lives pill in just 1 hour. The black figure said with certainty. All right, is there anything else? Although Yu Qilong still couldn't accept this fact, he was after all a man who had been through a lot. He wouldn't mess himself up because of such a small matter. Yes. The black figure continued. Lord Zi Qinya asked Ling Xiao to participate in the national martial competition, and it seems like she wants to use this opportunity to publicly announce her disciple. She wants to recruit Ling Xiao as her disciple. In her dreams. Yu Qilong let out a cold snort and said, This Ling Xiao, since he has such amazing alchemy skills, he can't fall into Zi Qinya's hands. But with Ling Xiao's strength, he can kill a 9th-level divine vein warrior. I'm afraid even a half-step divine core warrior might not be his match. It's very easy for him to enter the top 3. The black figure said. It's not up to him. Go to the Blood Sun Kingdom right now and bring Nie Shuang back to me. She's from the Purple Spirit Kingdom. I'm going to the Blood Sun Kingdom for my lifelong happiness. But that bitch Zi Qinya always keeps me at arm's length. This time I don't care anymore. Yu Qilong said coldly. Yes, Lord. The black figure disappeared into the darkness in an instant. Nie Shuang was Yu Qilong's favorite woman, but for the sake of the family he couldn't be with Nie Shuang. He had no choice but to let Nie Shuang leave the Blood Sun Kingdom. But now he didn't want to pursue Zi Qinya anymore, because he had given her 2 9 lives flowers. That bitch Zi Qinya only treated him slightly better. She called him a friend. This made him very angry. He wanted to use a more radical method to solve the mission assigned to him by the family. With this, Nie Shuang could come back. Besides, Nieshuang was younger than him, and she was more talented than him. She was the true #1 genius of the Purple Spirit Kingdom. He would definitely surpass Zi Qianye in the future. Right now, Nieshuang was 25 years old, and she was a peak first divine core warrior. If she were to make a move, Ling Xiao would not be a problem at all. He wanted Ling Xiao to die in the martial arts competition. A moment later, another person entered the hall. He was a major general at the 3rd Divine Core Realm, second only to Yu Qilong. Yu Hao, is everything settled? Yu Qilong looked at Yu Hao and asked. General, don't worry. No one will ever know that it was us who sent people to assassinate Zilong, Yu Hao said indifferently. Too bad, he's a 2nd Divine Core Major General, and he's extremely loyal to me. But he had to die. It's all that Ling Xiao's fault. Yu Qilong actually knew that after the 2nd assassination attempt failed, he had already begun to act. Yu Hao was his cousin and also his most capable helper. Thus, he carried out the operation of silencing the witness for him, because he couldn't afford any mistakes in his plan. That assassin had failed twice. He was even forced to use the 100 Steps Divine Fist. Once his identity was exposed, he had to die. Ling Xiao will be a variable in the future. If we want to get the real Bloody Sun world from the Z family, I'm afraid we have to kill him. Yu Hao suddenly said. Bloody Sun world. Nieshuang has investigated thoroughly. The family suspicion is correct. There is a huge secret hidden within the Bloody Sun world. In order to get the 1st and 2nd generation Bloody Sun world, our family has sacrificed many people. This time we have to succeed. Yu Qilong gritted his teeth and said, Therefore, Nieshuang has to come back. In just 2 days, a mysterious girl appeared in Chaoyang City. Chaoyang City never lacked women. There were many powerful female warriors in the Z family army as well, but there weren't many who were as feminine as Nieshuang. As she walked, she exuded a certain charm, as if she was a walking flower that could attract bees and butterflies wherever she went. This girl was Nieshuang. Her name didn't match her personality at all. Her name was cold, but her personality was hot. Her appearance was charming, but no one dared to look at Nieshuang. Everyone knew that Nieshuang was Yu Qilong's woman. Because of Zi Qianye, she left the small purple spirit kingdom. Now she was back. The purple dress made Nieshuang look noble and graceful. She was also a beauty, but the Moon Lady was fresh and elegant like a fairy. Nieshuang, on the other hand, was the best in the mortal world. She seemed to be more in line with the tastes of most men. No one stopped Nieshuang. She swayed her graceful body and followed Major General Yu Hao to Yu Qilong's residence. The man she had been thinking about day and night finally changed his mind. He was no longer obsessed with that bitch Zi Qianye. She was very happy. Most of the soldiers in the Z family army didn't dare to raise their heads. Occasionally, a few of them raised their heads, but they were all new recruits. However, when Nieshuang glanced at them, they were immediately attracted to her and walked up to her subconsciously. Then they heard a scream. His eyes were pierced by a sword. Nieshuang, they are all Z family army soldiers. It's a pity that they are blind. Yu Hao laughed. He didn't mean to blame them at all. It was more like chatting. Then I'll kill them. Nieshuang sneered. Her sword flashed, and the blind man became a dead man. How terrifying! That woman. After Nieshuang left, the people finally dared to whisper. Yeah, she killed people without saying anything. She's a devil. Do you want to die? She's the general's woman and a peerless genius. I heard that the nation Lord Zi Qianye and our general are not as talented as her. She's so powerful. No wonder she looks so young. But her aura is already as terrifying as that of a captain. I know, right? I heard that her talent is in the top 10 even in the entire Z family kingdom. She's just a little cruel. I really hope someone can teach her a lesson. I suddenly thought of someone. Who? Ling Xiao. Bah! Ling Xiao is not worthy of being compared to her. Don't be ridiculous. Even Ling Xiao is going to die for disrespecting her today. Ling Xiao was able to defeat a 7th divine vein warrior. That's already pretty good. She is a divine core warrior. That's not necessarily true. Perhaps both of them will participate in this year's national martial competition. At that time, we'll know who's stronger and who's weaker. While they were talking, Nie Shuang and Yu Hao had arrived at Yu Qilong's residence. The general is waiting for you in the mansion. I won't be going in. Yu Hao smiled at Nie Shuang. Then he turned around and left. Nie Shuang looked at the general's mansion in front of her. She felt like she had never seen it before. When she left, she was only 16 years old. Now 9 years had passed. It was all because of Zi Qinya that she had to leave her home. But this time she was finally back. I wonder why Brother Qilong is looking for me? While thinking about this, Nie Shuang had already stepped into the general's mansion. Chapter 3674. Baby! When he saw Nie Shuang, Yu Qilong was more excited than anyone else. Although he had many women, however, Nie Shuang was the only one that he could not forget. He missed her day and night. Although Zi Qinya was beautiful and had a high status, she was too cold. He didn't like her. He preferred women who knew how to please men. Brother Qilong. When Nie Shuang saw Yu Qilong, she was like a flower that bloomed, releasing all of her fragrance. In this general's mansion, they weren't a superior and subordinate. They were purely a man and a woman. After a round of craziness, both of them sat down on the bed and started chatting. Baby, I've been in the Blood Sun Kingdom for so long, it's so tiring. I have to endure Zi Qinya's cold face every day. I can't take it anymore. Yu Qilong's body was covered in sweat. This round of craziness lasted for half an hour, and he didn't even use any true yuan. That was even more exciting. Shuang, I doesn't want to hear about that woman. Why don't you get down to business? After being nourished by the rain, Nie Shuang looked even more charming. She was extremely attractive. If not for Yu Qilong's extraordinary willpower, he wouldn't have been able to take it. All right, let's get down to business. Yu Qilong suddenly became serious. You know, the Yu family has always wanted the 2 Blood Sun world swords from the Zi family. One is the 1st generation, and the other is the 2nd generation. One is a heavenly king weapon. The other is a divine emperor weapon. Of course I know, but although a heavenly king weapon is precious, the Yu family should have one as well. As for a divine emperor weapon, the Yu family doesn't lack one either. Nie Shuang was puzzled. That's why I don't understand why the Yu family sacrificed dozens of warriors for those 2 swords. Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Those 2 swords were made by the weapon craftsmen from the Blood Sun Kingdom. You've been in the Blood Sun Kingdom for 9 years, and everything you've investigated is related to the Blood Sun world. Yu Qilong said with a smile. The Blood Sun scripture is related to the Blood Sun world? Nie Shuang was shocked. That's right. According to a reliable source, the 1st and 2nd part of the Blood Sun scripture is hidden in the Blood Sun world swords. You should know that the 1st part of the 1st part of the Blood Sun scripture is extremely fast for warriors between the divine vein and the divine core realm. It is a cultivations accelerator. It can increase one's cultivation speed by 10 times. Furthermore, it could also increase a martial artist's comprehension and success rate in cultivating martial skills. The most amazing thing was that it could ensure that the inner core would not be damaged if Zi Long cultivated the Blood Yang scripture. This time there was no need for the 9 lives pill. As for the 2nd section of the Blood Sun scripture, it has the same effect for those between the 3rd and 9th divine core realm. Yu Qilong explained, according to my observations, the Zi family doesn't seem to know the secret of the Blood Sun world. Originally, I wanted to marry Zi Qinya and take the 2 Blood Sun heavens for myself. It was just 2 lousy swords. He believed that she would not be stingy. The reason why he wanted to get rid of Zilong was because he didn't want him to become a contender. However, there was some trouble now. According to the latest news, Qianye, that stupid woman, actually gave Bloody Sun World to a young man called Ling Xiao. This young man had repeatedly done shocking things. This marshal is worried that he will discover the secret of Bloody Sun World. At that time, it will be even more difficult to obtain it. That's why I asked you to come back this time. Aside from marrying this marshal, it's more important. It's to deal with him. Who is this Ling Xiao? Nieshuang asked curiously. An ordinary Purple Palace soldier, Yu Qilong said. Hee, Brother Qilong, you're so funny. How can an ordinary Purple Palace soldier pose any threat to us? Why don't you just ask him to hand over the Blood Sun World? Nieshuang didn't take Ling Xiao seriously at all. In the beginning, I had the same thought as you, but now I don't dare to look down on him. Do you know that he stopped my subordinate from assassinating Zilong twice? That subordinate is a second-level divine corps major general. Yu Qilong furrowed his brows and said, So strong. Don't tell me his cultivation is at the third divine corps realm? Nieshuang was startled. No, he is only at the eighth divine vein realm. There is no doubt about that. But this young man is too strange. When he was at the fourth divine vein realm, he killed one of my Kiliarchs, Chengqian. He has a lot of secrets. Yu Qilong shook his head and said, I'll give you all the information about this young man now. He stretched out a finger and pointed it at Nieshuang's forehead. After a brief moment, a series of images flashed across Nieshuang's mind. She now knew a lot about Ling Xiao. Hee, what an interesting young man. He saved Zilong the first time because your men were careless. His speed is pretty good, but you need to be careful of that strange escaping skill. He killed Chengqian because of his strategy. First, he sneak attacked Zilong while invisible. Then he attacked continuously, not giving Chengqian any chance to breathe. This proves that he is smart and calculative. When he was at the fourth divine vein realm, his attack was strong enough to kill a ninth-level divine vein warrior. The second time he saved Zilong, this is interesting. That blood-red lightning bolt is probably one of his magical items. Your men didn't underestimate him, but they underestimated the power of the lightning bolt. Also, this young man knows how to attack with his soul. His purpose was to catch your men off guard. When all these coincidences came together, it became the second rescue. Judging from this young man's mentality is terrifyingly strong, and he's good at finding his enemy's weaknesses. He's not someone easy to deal with. I'm guessing that without using any magical items, his combat strength should be higher than a half-step divine core warrior. If he uses a magical item, he might even be able to fight a first divine core warrior. Nieshuang gave a comprehensive analysis. You're indeed my baby. Your analysis is exactly the same as mine. But he has a magical item, and so do we. Shuang, go and participate in the Purple Spirit Kingdom's national martial competition. During the competition, kill this young man for me. Yu Qilong's expression suddenly became gloomy. Not only is he cunning, strong, and talented, he's also an alchemy master. If a man like this falls into Qianye's hands, it'll be very troublesome. Shuang understands. With my strength, I can easily become the champion of the national martial competition, Nieshuang said with a smile. Of course, in order to ensure your success, I'll prepare some talismans and magical items for you. We can't let that young man take advantage of you, Yu Qilong said with a cold voice. Once I become the champion, I'll become Qianye's chief disciple. Although I know you don't like Qianye, I have to admit her talent. You can cultivate under her. You'll definitely benefit a lot from it. You'll also have the chance to get your hands on 2 Bloody Sun World. Once I get my hands on one, I won't have to smile at that woman anymore. Don't worry, Brother Qilong, I won't let you down. Nie Shuang said with a smile. Actually, even if I don't use any magical items, I won't lose to that young man. That man of yours is brave, but he's not smart enough. He's being played like a fool. I won't. Chapter 3675. Of course I know what you're capable of. After this, I will bring your brother Nie Fong back from the purple spirit underworld. I will let the two of you reunite. Yu Qilong knew that if he wanted Nie Shuang to listen to him, he had to play the emotional card. Nie Shuang only had Nie Fong as her family. The two of them had relied on each other since they were young. When he took over Nie Shuang's body, Nie Shuang did not resist because of her brother Nie Fong. Therefore, it was certain that the two of them had a good relationship. Brother Qilong, you are so good to me. Nie Shuang knew that the underworld of the bloody battlefield was a terrifying place. As long as her brother did not come back, she would not be able to feel at ease. It was also her wish to make use of this matter to bring her brother back. Cough, cough. Are the two of you done chatting? Suddenly, a voice came from outside the general's estate. It's you, Hao. Shuang, go back and rest first. Wait for this marshal to finish his business. After I finish my business, I will go and fight with you for 300 rounds. Yu Qilong smiled. Brother Qilong, you are so bad. Let's go. Nie Shuang swayed her body and walked towards her own residence in the general's estate. She believed that Yu Qilong had always kept that place for her. Brother, you really dote on this woman. Aren't you afraid of spoiling her? After Nie Shuang left, Yu Hao arrived and said with a smile, She is just a woman. If she is obedient, I will treat her as one of us. If she is not, I will just kill her. Why are you looking for me? Yu Qilong asked. Nothing important. I don't dare to disturb you. Yu Hao suddenly became serious. The entrance to the ruins has been found. The final hiding place of the blood sword supreme? Yu Qilong suddenly stood up and asked. That's right. Yu Hao nodded and said, At the end of his life, the blood sword supreme had left behind everything he had learned in his life. Now, only our Yu clan knows the secret. Therefore, the inheritance of the blood sword supreme should belong to our Yu clan. That's strange. The blood sword supreme is from the Blood Sun Kingdom, but he hid in the Purple Spirit Kingdom's underworld. Yu Qilong smiled and said, But that doesn't matter. The key is, can entrance be opened? No. Yu Hao shook his head. I can't. That's right. There's actually a special array at the entrance. It requires that only martial artists who cultivate the Blood Sun scripture can enter. It seemed like the blood sword Reverend Shui Yang wanted to pass down his legacy to his descendants. However, he did not know that the two Blood Sun World swords that contained the Blood Sun scripture had now fallen into the hands of the monarch of the small violet spirit kingdom. Yu Hao replied, It's the Blood Yang scripture again. Yu Qilong's frown deepened. That's right. It doesn't matter if it's the first or second chapter. Only then can you obtain the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme. Yu Hao said with certainty, Blood Sword Supreme has told us this through the incantation. We've tried many ways to get in, but none of them worked. It seemed that he wasn't lying. Furthermore, if we really enter, I'm afraid that without cultivating the Blood Sun scripture, we won't be able to inherit his legacy. Yu Qilong gritted his teeth and said, No matter how difficult it is, we can't miss out on the inheritance of the Blood Sword Supreme. One should know that the Blood Sword Reverend was the person who had created the Purple Mansion Kingdom. The Purple Mansion Army was created by him as well. His strength in the past was much stronger than the current monarch. He had reached the frightening perfect 8th divine core realm. He was one of the strongest warriors in the entire Dongxing Strong Kingdom. All the other strong kingdoms had to pay tribute to him. He was in the limelight. His Blood Sword Supreme was extremely frightening. The entire Dongxing Strong Kingdom was terrified by his name. But too bad, the the Blood Sword Supreme was too ambitious. He wasn't satisfied with the current situation, and he tried to overthrow the Dongxing Strong Kingdom. He wanted to create the Purple Mansion Kingdom. As a result, the monarch of the Dongxing Strong Kingdom was afraid of him. Therefore, an earth-shattering battle broke out between the two men. The battle lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. In the end, the Blood Sword Supreme lost because of his cultivation base. But even the monarch of the Dongxing Strong Kingdom couldn't kill him. He escaped into the bloody battlefield. Since then, he disappeared without a trace. A few thousand years have passed since then. I think he's already dead. But even so, when mentioning this Blood Sword Supreme, many older generation warriors still feel fear. Yu Hao nodded his head and said, "That's right. Who would have thought that the mighty Blood Sword Supreme would be buried in the Purple Spirit underworld? Luckily, brother, you've become the commander of the Purple Mansion army. If not, you wouldn't have been able to find the Blood Sword Supreme's hiding place. Speaking of which, it was dangerous that time as well. I personally stepped into the Purple Spirit underworld and killed the Hell Demon Beast. That was how I found that place," Yu Qilong said with mixed emotions. Because of that, brother's status in the Yu family rose quickly. As for the inheritance, you're naturally the first in line to inherit it, Yu Hao said with a smile. Let's not talk about this first. Since the key to unlocking the inheritance is the Blood Sun scripture, we must get those 2 Blood Sun heavens. If we can't, let's just ask Father to slaughter the entire Z family. Those 2 Blood Sun heavens will belong to our Yu family, Yu Qilong said with a ferocious expression. That's a last resort. Unless it's the last resort, it's better not to use it. As a general, every move of yours will be watched. If we really do that, no one will be stupid. In the end, we'll be the ones causing the trouble, and everyone else will have to share the profits. Yu Hao reminded. Of course I know that. So now, the most important thing is Nie Shuang. As long as he can kill Ling Xiao and take the 2nd Blood Sun heavens, it'll be half of the success. The other half will be when Nie Shuang becomes Z Qinya's chief disciple. Fortunately, the Z family still doesn't know the secret of the Blood Sun heavens. Otherwise, it'll be difficult for us to carry out our plan. Yu Qilong said, I'll take Nie Shuang to meet Z Qinya later. We still have to be polite on the surface. By the way, where are Su Mingjin and his 3 disciples? They've already gone to travel. Their next stop is probably the Blood Sun Kingdom. Yu Hao said, That's good. Su Mingjin is really an old fox. Even my father told me not to offend him. It's good that he's not here. Yu Qilong was relieved. Purple Spirit Country, King's Mansion. Tomorrow was the deadline for the National Martial Arts Competition. As the organizer and person in charge of this National Martial Arts Competition, Z Qinya was very busy. However, even if she was busy, she was very happy. Her younger brother, Zilong, had recovered from his injuries and made a breakthrough in his cultivation. And she also got a younger brother, Ling Xiao. Although the martial arts competition hadn't been held yet, Z Qinya had already recognized Ling Xiao as her younger brother. It wasn't a problem whether Ling Xiao could enter the top 3 or not. It was just a formality. While she was thinking, a report came from outside. It said that Lieutenant General Yu Qilong wanted to see her. Invite him in. Because of the 9 life flower, Z Qinya's attitude toward Yu Qilong was much better. Chapter 3676. Because of the 9 lives flower, Z Qinya's attitude towards Yu Qilong had become much better. Although she still didn't love him, at least she didn't reject him as much as before. Who is this girl? Z Qinya saw a young girl standing next to Yu Qilong. In terms of age, Yu Qilong was old enough to be this girl's father. Aren't you going to treat me to a cup of tea? Yu Qilong said with a smile. Oh, someone, serve me some tea and give me a seat. Z Qinya said with a bitter smile. He was so focused on this girl that he had forgotten about this matter. After the three men sat down, Yu Qilong took a sip of tea and said, "Qinya, I've mentioned this to you before. I have a fierce warrior under my command. His name is Niafeng. He has a little sister called Niashuang. This is the little girl." Niashuang greets the king. In front of Qinya, Niashuang had completely restrained her charm. She was like a fresh flower that had suddenly wrapped around herself. She had turned into a flower bud. Amazing! 25 years old and a peak first divine core warrior. Your talent is even greater than mine. Qinya said with a smile. You need to learn more from Qilong in the future. There aren't many strong female warriors around. You need to make us women proud. Qinya, stop praising her, or else she will grow wings. Actually, I'm here because I have a favor to ask of you. Yu Qilong said. What are you talking about? Just tell me what you want. If it wasn't for your 9 lives flower, my little brother's life would have been in danger. Qinya was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Although she had her doubts about Qilong, she wasn't as suspicious as Ling Xiao. Also, she didn't have any proof. She didn't want to wrongly accuse a good person because of her own assumptions. All right, I'll be frank with you. Niashuang just came back from the Blood Sun Kingdom. She begged me to join the national martial competition. I told her the registration period was over, but she didn't want to listen. Yu Qilong said with a bitter smile. The registration period isn't over, but Niashuang is a first divine core warrior. Don't you think it's a waste for her to join the martial competition? Qinya said. Sai, as you know, I'm a man and her brother is a man. When a man trains a woman, he always doesn't know how to control his strength. It's inconvenient. I also heard that you want to recruit the top 3 of the martial arts tournament to become your disciple. That was why he agreed to her request. She has always worshipped you. Yu Qilong sighed as if he was in a difficult position. He knew that Qinya cared a lot about relationships, and he knew that Qinya cared a lot about repaying a debt of gratitude. She would never reject him. As expected, Qinya glanced at Niashuang and nodded. There's no problem with the registration. However, if you want to become my disciple, you have to pass the National Martial Arts Competitions test. Can you? I can. Niashuang stood up excitedly like a hot-blooded little girl, because his idol had agreed to his request. With her acting skills, it would be a pity if she didn't go into acting. All right, since that's the case, we'll gather at the martial arts arena tomorrow. Every year, the National Martial Arts Competition is held there. Qinya smiled. Since that's the case, we won't disturb you any longer. Tomorrow is the martial arts competition. I'm sure you have a lot of things to do. Yu Qilong was not willing to stay for long. He didn't want to be exposed. Qinya, you looked like a simple woman, but in fact, she was smarter than anyone else. If not, she wouldn't have been able to stay on the throne for so long. After both men left, the smile on Qiny's face disappeared. This Yu Qilong, what is he trying to do? Why did he bring Niashuang back at this time? Is he trying to go against Ling Xiao? She wasn't stupid. In fact, she was very smart. If Niashuang really wanted to be her disciple, all she needed was Yu Qilong's recommendation, and she would definitely agree. But now, Niashuang had decided to participate in the National Martial Arts Competition one day before it began. It was obvious that she had other plans. Whatever, let's just wait and see. Ling Xiao isn't someone who can be easily bullied. Qinya had a lot of confidence in Ling Xiao, being able to severely injure a 2nd-level divine core warrior. Even if he used a magical item, it was still an incredible feat, the National Martial Arts Competition that was held once every 4 years. It was the biggest event in Violet Spirit Kingdom. The martial arts arena was used as a tourist attraction. When the martial arts competition was held, the arena would be renovated and decorated. It was to welcome the arrival of the grand event. The scale of the National Martial Arts Competition wasn't any worse than the Purple Palace soldier recruitment. On the day of the competition, the martial arts arena was already packed with people. Countless people from all over the Violet Spirit Kingdom had arrived here a few days in advance. They all hoped to be lucky enough to witness the grand event. However, most of them weren't qualified to enter the martial arts arena. After all, the population of the Violet Spirit Kingdom was over 1 billion, and nearly 100 million people were here to watch the grand event. How big would the arena be if all of them were allowed to enter? Therefore, the rule was that only warriors above the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm were allowed to watch the competition. Of course, those who were related to the martial arts competition were excluded, but those people were in the minority. The city guards were in charge of guarding the martial arts arena. The Purple Palace Army wasn't involved. But if something big happened, the Purple Palace Army would be the first to arrive and solve the problem. Although there were many rewards in the past martial arts competitions, there had never been a reward for becoming the disciple of the king. This year's special reward caused all the young martial artists in the little Purple Spirit Kingdom to feel highly agitated. Zi Qianyi was the #1 beauty in the Violet Spirit Kingdom. She was also the #1 in terms of strength. Because of these two factors, she had become the goddess in many men's hearts. She was the idol in every woman's heart. There were many people who wanted to become her disciple. No wonder Zilong and Zi Qianyi were so surprised when Ling Xiao refused to become her disciple. Because there were too many people who signed up, the organizer of the martial arts competition raised the registration requirement to the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. As a result, the number of people was reduced, but there were still more than 50,000 people. Basically, except for those who didn't get the news, the entire Violet Spirit Kingdom had reached the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Those who were below 30 years old had all come. Many people from the Purple Palace Army had also come. Although the Purple Palace Army was glorious, ordinary soldiers were also punching bags. But if they became the disciple of the king, Zi Qianyi, it was no different from reaching the heavens in a single step. Only a fool would refuse such a good opportunity. The top 3 would be chosen from 50,000 people. The probability was very low. Moreover, the rules of the martial arts competition were similar to the Purple Palace Army's recruitment. At the beginning, 50,000 people would be put together to fight against 40,000 puppets. The remaining 5,000 people would enter the main competition. The rules of the main competition were very simple. It was a 2-on-1 elimination system. The loser would be eliminated immediately, and the winner would stay. Because the alchemy skills of the 4 major regions were more complicated. So the competition would continue. There would be time for rest and healing in between. The king's residents would treat the contestants who had advanced and ensure that everyone could compete in a fair situation. The real experts would be chosen. But even so, it was still a great test for the warriors' endurance. Chapter 3677. Continuous battles would consume a lot of energy in all aspects. So, the most important part was how to distribute the energy properly. Right now, all the participating warriors were waiting quietly in order to conserve their energy. Some of them were resting with their eyes closed, while some were chatting with each other in low voices. The top 3 will become the goddess disciple, although that Nie Shuang will definitely take one of the spots. But the other 2 spots are still up for grabs. No one knew who spread the news about Nie Shuang's registration. Right now, 99% of the participants were no longer thinking about becoming the champion. This was because Nie Shuang was a peak first-rank divine core warrior. They were no match for her. Instead of being greedy, they might as well set their goal lower and be more realistic. Enter the top 3. Actually, Nie Shuang might not be able to become the champion. There are 50,000 participants here who can guarantee that there are no other divine core warriors here. It's hard to say. In the past, there have been people who hid their true strength. You're right, if someone can defeat Nie Shuang, then it will be fun. I wonder what Yu Qilong's expression will be. I think the possibility of that happening is too low. Do you think the Divine Core Realm is a cabbage that can be found anywhere? Even in the Purple Palace Royal City, there are only a few Divine Core warriors below the age of 30. Stop dreaming. The champion will definitely be Nieshuang. I think so too. Even if there are other Divine Core warriors, with Nieshuang's relationship with Lieutenant General Yu Qilong, I'm sure she has a lot of treasures. Even if she uses treasures, she will be able to smash her opponent to death. Sai, if we meet Nieshuang, let's just admit defeat. Hopefully we won't be so unlucky. No one wanted to be eliminated so early, even if they couldn't get into the top 3. If they could show off in the national martial competition, they would have a bright future. Many high-ranking officials and nobles would invite them to join. Although it wouldn't be as crazy as becoming the Lord's disciple, it wouldn't be too bad. While the crowd was discussing, Ling Xiao and Zilong had already arrived at the venue. They were sitting on both sides of Ziqinya. They looked like 2 guards. Gui Su and the other important figures were sitting at the back. Gui Su didn't like this kind of occasion, but today he was here because he wanted to see Ling Xiao make a fool of himself. Ling Xiao had refined the 9-life pill, causing him to lose face. He had always been brooding over this matter, and there was no way he could let it go so easily. Big brother Ling Xiao, why didn't I go up as well? Nieshuang can go anyway. Why can't I? I'm afraid that those guys will harm you in the chaotic battle. Why don't I help you get rid of the trouble? Zilong said to Ling Xiao. Nonsense. Ziqinya snapped. Elder sister, how am I messing around? That Nieshuang clearly harbored ill intentions. She's going to participate in the martial Dao competition all of a sudden, and she's only a Divine Core warrior. Why is she so shameless? Zilong pursed his lips. You can't say that. Ling Xiao smiled and said, she completely meets the requirements to participate in the martial arts tournament. The key is that our queen did not set a cultivation upper limit. You're saying that because you're confident? Zilong asked. Who am I? Ling Xiao chuckled and said, it doesn't matter if it's Nieshuang or anyone else, it makes no difference to me. All I have to do is defeat them. Or if Nieshuang wasn't here, I would feel bored. Also, if I win too easily, people might think that Queen Sister cheated. That won't be good. Although it wasn't easy to defeat a first-rank Divine Core warrior, he wasn't afraid. Besides, a first-rank Divine Core warrior could help him improve his cultivation. He was looking forward to it. Young man, it's better to be humble. Gui Su suddenly spoke. Don't always be so arrogant. Hearing this, Ling Xiao was startled. He looked at Gui Su with a puzzled expression and asked, who is this idiot? Idiot. Gui Su nearly coughed out a mouthful of blood. How dare Ling Xiao call him an idiot? He didn't even know who Gui Su was. This made Gui Su extremely depressed and also extremely angry. Don't talk nonsense. This is the #1 alchemist in the King Mansion, Gui Su. Although Gui Su had disappointed Ziqinya with Zilong's matter, but he had still contributed a lot in the past. Therefore, Ziqinya still trusted Gui Su. I'm sorry, I didn't know this old idiot was your #1 alchemist. He's not good at alchemy, so he must be blind. Ling Xiao didn't give Gui Su any face. He didn't have a good impression of Gui Su. He didn't offend this old fool, but this old fool kept giving him trouble. In the past few days, Gui Su had given him trouble a few times. If it wasn't for Ziqinya's intervention, Jiang Chen would have killed this old fool. Gui Su wasn't strong. He was only a first-rank Divine Core warrior. What he was good at was alchemy. It wasn't impossible for Ling Xiao to kill him. Ziqinya shook his head and smiled bitterly. This Ling Xiao was a stubborn donkey. When his temper flared up, he wouldn't give face to anyone. You're pissing me off. Gui Su was so angry that his blood was boiling. If you're afraid of being angry, then shut your stinky mouth. It's not up to you to judge my performance. Ling Xiao gazed at Gue Su coldly, then he turned to Ziqinya and said, Sister Queen, do you also think I'm weaker than that Nie Shuang? Nie Shuang has a close relationship with Yu Qilong, and she has a major general brother, Nie Feng. I'm sure she has a lot of treasures that she can use. Ziqinya didn't answer Jiang Chen's question directly, but reminded him, I know. Ling Xiao smiled and said, If she doesn't have any treasures, then this battle is meaningless. To be honest, if Ling Xiao used the blood lightning god, Nie Shuang would be severely injured. That would be meaningless. What Jiang Chen wanted was an exciting battle. He wanted to prove to the world that he didn't become the champion through the back door, but with his own strength. This wasn't for him, but for Ziqinya. As the king, once Ziqinya lost the trust of the people, it would be troublesome. Jiang Qin had to stabilize Ziqinya's position. Only then would he be able to get more support. Who's that young man? He looks younger than young Master Zilong. They were not wrong. Ling Zhao's actual age was indeed much younger than Zilong's. It was just that he was too mature. That was why Zilong called him Brother Ling Xiao. I don't know. Is he the younger brother of the queen? I've never heard of him. Many people noticed the two young men beside Ziqinya. They knew Zilong, but Ling Xiao didn't know them. That guy seems to be called Ling Xiao. He participated in the recruitment of the Z Mansion army. Finally, someone recognized Ling Xiao. After all, many of the participants of this martial arts competition had participated in the recruitment of the Z Mansion army. Ling Xiao's performance was very eye-catching. How could they forget that he killed a corporal? Why is he so familiar with the goddess? Is he a predetermined disciple? That's depressing. Chapter 3678. Internally decided? Are you kidding me? If that was the case, the king wouldn't have allowed Nie Shuang to participate in the competition. Besides, this guy doesn't seem to have a strong cultivation base. Besides, if the king really wants to recruit this guy as his disciple, he doesn't have to go through the competition. You're right. Just like young Master Zilong, he isn't a disciple, but his status is higher than a disciple. This guy is sitting at the same level as young Master Zilong. This shows how much the king values him. You're right, we'll know later. If he really wants to get into the top 3, he'll have to defeat a lot of people. It's not easy to cheat. Ling Zhao's existence was just another topic for people to talk about. After all, he was only an 8th level Divine Vein warrior. In front of so many 9th level Divine Vein and Origin Core warriors, he was nothing. On the Z Mansion army side, Tang Yi had brought Tang Bing here as well. Tang Bing would be participating in the national martial competition as well. After all, he was qualified to participate. Grandfather, Ling Xiao is now highly valued by the king. It'll be even harder for us to take revenge. Tang Bing stared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with anger. That kick from Ling Xiao almost caused him to die without descendants. More importantly, he had lost all his face. He hated Ling Xiao to the core. Don't worry, Tang Yi said with a smile. Nie Shuang came back to deal with him. Nie Shuang is a 1st level divine core warrior, and she has many magical treasures. Even I, your grandfather, am no match for her. Ling Xiao is even less likely to win. Just wait, we'll be able to watch this guy make a fool of himself. Let's see how he dies. This is great. Hearing this, Tang Bing became excited. Right at this moment, the scene suddenly became quiet. Ziqinya stood up and announced, "The national martial competition begins now." She didn't need to waste time explaining the rules. There were posters everywhere in the competition grounds, and anyone who was participating could see them. Brother Ling Xiao, I'll go and host the competition. Ziqinya was the person in charge of this competition and the final judge. However, in order to nurture his younger brother, Zilong, She made Zilong the host and referee of this year's National Martial Arts Competition. There were also a few second-level divine core warriors assisting them, because there was no need for scoring, only the winner and loser. Therefore, they were only giving suggestions. The one who truly made the decision was still Zilong. If Zilong's judgment was different, Zichinya would naturally take action. That was not a problem. All contestants, please enter the arena and prepare for the first battle royale. When the time comes, there will be 40,000 puppets fighting alongside you in the arena. Of course, you can also think of ways to eliminate your opponents. There was no time limit. The competition will end when there are only 5,000 people left. Zilong made the announcement. The contestants who were originally seated stepped into the arena. The arena was incomparably huge. It was more than enough to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. In any case, a martial artist's eyesight was very good. They could see things clearly even from far away. Begin. When the martial artist and the puppet stepped into the arena together, Zilong immediately announced the start of the battle. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt that he was being watched. Among the 50,000 contestants, at least 10,000 of them had their eyes on him. Nia Shuang wasn't one of them. Brother Qilong, did you arrange this? Yu Hao turned to Yu Qilong and asked. No, I didn't. Yu Qilong shook his head, but a grin emerged on his face. Of course, he was the one who arranged this. He was worried that Nia Shuang wouldn't be able to defeat him. Therefore, if he had the chance, he would kill Ling Xiao first. Besides, not all those who attacked Ling Xiao were from the Purple Mansion army. Many of them were recruited by Yu Hao with money. He won't be able to survive this, Yu Hao said with a smile. On the other side, Nia Feng wasn't interested in Ling Xiao. After returning from the bloody battlefield, he only cared about his sister. Nia Shuang was being targeted by many people in the arena as well. Many people thought that as long as they killed Nia Shuang, they would be able to fight for the championship. They couldn't kill Nia Shuang one-on-one, but they could still fight her in a group. A bunch of idiots, they can't understand how frightening a divine core warrior is. Nia Feng didn't seem to be worried about his sister at all. He said with a grin on his face. Just as he said, the situation in the arena had changed. Nia Shuang was indeed not on the same level as most people. It was just a single strike. Hundreds of the thousands of men who attacked her were killed. The attack of a divine core warrior was extremely frightening. The strongest puppet was only at the nascent core realm, and it couldn't pose any threat to her. It could even be said that they couldn't break through her defense. She was like an idle person, killing people in a leisurely manner. She was complaining in her mind. Brother Qilong, why don't you trust me? Why did you arrange so many men to fight Ling Xiao? She felt that if she attacked, she would definitely be able to defeat Ling Xiao. But although she had such thoughts, she didn't dare go against Yu Qilong's decision. On the spectator stand, Zichinya had a serious expression. Big sister, these people are too shameless, Zilong said anxiously. Shut up. Don't forget that you're the main judge now. You can't be partial to anyone. You can't say that. Besides, they didn't break any rules. Trust Ling Xiao, he's not that stupid. Zichinya reprimanded Zilong. Then he turned his attention back to the arena. Right at this moment, the battle between Ling Xiao and the thousands of men had become the focus of everyone's attention. Although the battle was chaotic, everyone was just here to watch the show, and they wanted to see the most important part. 1 against 10,000, this was interesting. You want to kill me? Facing over 10,000 men, and many of them were nascent core warriors, Ling Xiao was surprisingly calm. Kid, you're unlucky. You've offended someone you shouldn't have. Today, you'll die obediently. It's better if you kill yourself. But if you don't, we'll cut you into pieces. One of the men sneered. I won't show mercy to those who kill me, Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. Ha 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 ha. So what if you don't show mercy? Could it be that you really think you can kill over 10,000 of us with your own strength? The man laughed out wildly. Don't waste your breath on him. He has the ability to turn invisible. Remember to drink the appearance potion later. Another man said. Hearing this, Ling Xiao frowned. Originally, he did want to rely on the ability of the Shadow Warrior to avoid this battle, but now it seemed that it wouldn't work. It seems that you came prepared, but do you really think that you can deal with me like this? Ling Xiao sneered and took out a formation refining stone. Phantom, disorienting formation. This illusory formation didn't have any lethality, but it could make people who didn't understand formations completely lose their target. The formation that Ling Xiao used didn't cover a large area. It was only within a radius of 100 meters with him as the center. Soon, the people in the stands saw a strange cloud of smoke filling the air. Then, Ling Xiao disappeared. Those warriors who were close to Ling Xiao also disappeared. Chapter 3679. I didn't expect this kid to be an expert in formations. Zi Qianye was very surprised. His talent was outstanding, his alchemy skills were brilliant, and he could even set up formations. Xiaolong, Xiaolong, you really brought back an amazing treasure for me. Hee, now you know how powerful my brother Ling Xiao is. In fact, Zilong was also very surprised. He didn't know much about Ling Xiao. At this time, seeing this strange formation, he was a little stunned for a moment. Once the illusion formation was activated, even Zi Qianye and Yu Qilong didn't know what was going on inside. Not long after, people heard shrill screams. Ghost! What is this thing? Help! I don't want to die. This kind of sound made many people who were fighting in the arena feel their hair stand on end. They all avoided the area wrapped in the fog for fear of being implicated. No one knew what was going on inside, but it was obvious that the battle inside was not 1 against 10,000. It seemed that the 10,000 people had encountered some kind of monster. Their judgment was not wrong, because Ling Xiao had released the Gate of Hell in the illusion formation. It was the advanced skill of the three-headed hellhound. The Gate of Hell opened. Even Ling Xiao himself didn't know what would come out of it. Skeletons, skeleton archers, skeleton mages, zombies, death knights, vampires, demons, and so on. And the strength of these things was not weak. The strongest attack was equivalent to a second-level emperor-level martial skill. The weakest was the lethality of a king-level martial skill, controlling the illusion formation and opening the Gate of Hell. The slaughter began. Those pitiful plans couldn't even see anything more than a meter away in the illusion formation. And these monsters released from the Gate of Hell could listen to Ling Xiao's command. They attacked accurately. Although the overall strength of the 10,000 people was stronger than these monsters, what was the use? They were all blind. What greeted them could only be a massacre. It didn't last long. The fog gradually dissipated. People could finally see the situation there clearly. Not a single strand of Ling Xiao's hair was out of place. He stood there calmly and stared coldly ahead. And in front of him, the corpses of 10,000 people were lying there in disarray. Some of the corpses were extremely terrifying. It's too scary. What happened? That young man didn't seem to be fighting, but those 10,000 people are already dead. What the hell? Could it be some kind of treasure? He has a good relationship with the king. He must have obtained some kind of treasure. That must be it. Everyone was discussing among themselves. None of them believed that Ling Xiao had done anything. Instead, they gave all the credit to Zi Qianye. But at this time, Zi Qianye and Zi Qiu, the 10,000 people were all dead in less than 10 minutes. It seemed like this Ling Xiao really had an unbelievable secret. How? See? Tess. Yu Qilong shook his head and said, but that kid's combat power is definitely not that strong. I think he used the treasure Qinya gave him. This guy is ruthless. He killed those 10,000 people. He didn't show any mercy. When Yu Hao said this, he seemed to have forgotten that they were much more ruthless than Ling Xiao in many things. Moreover, Ling Xiao was ruthless because he wanted to save his own life. They were doing it to harm others. There are many Purple Mansion army soldiers in there. Nya, phone reminded. Humph. Ling Xiao killed thousands of Purple Mansion army soldiers in public. He must be severely punished. Yu Qilong snorted. His killing intent towards Ling Xiao became stronger. While they were talking, the battle in the arena didn't stop. In addition to the 10,000 people Ling Xiao killed, many people were eliminated during this period. They took the initiative to escape from the arena. The number of people was close to 5,000, and there were only about 10,000 puppets left. This martial arts competition was really ruthless. After a few minutes, the tangled battle finally ended. The 5,000 people were eliminated. Zilong let out a sigh of relief. He was worried that Ling Xiao would continue to be besieged. However, it seemed that because of Ling Xiao's strength and ruthlessness, no one dared to trouble him. What he needed to deal with were only puppets. Those who advanced rest for an hour, and then the one-on-one elimination matches will begin. Draw lots in half an hour. Long announced the rest and the draw lots. Then he hurriedly rushed towards Ling Xiao, who was walking out. Brother Ling Xiao, are you okay? What can happen to me? It's only the others who are in trouble. Ling Xiao smiled and said, Don't worry. Trust me. At least in this martial arts competition, there are not many people who can pose a threat to me. That's good. It seems that I was worried for nothing. You should go and rest. Zilong didn't dare to disturb Ling Xiao. He asked Ling Xiao to go back and rest. Half an hour later, the draw lots began. Ling Xiao looked at his lot. It was very close to the front, ranked 10th. But to him, it didn't matter where he was ranked. For a person who wanted to win the championship, it didn't matter whether he appeared first or last. After the draw lots, it was the official match. 5,000 people, 100 arenas. 100 matches could be held at once. Each arena was allocated 50 people. According to the lot, Ling Xiao was allocated to the first arena. He noticed that Nieshuang was allocated to the second arena, which happened to be next door. After the allocation, the battle immediately began. He didn't care about the battles in other arenas except for Nieshuang's battle. He only cared about the battle situation in his arena. The first 4 martial artists were all quite exciting. At least they were all fooling around. The least one fought for 30 rounds before it ended. Kid, what are you looking at? It's your turn. Suddenly a voice sounded out. It was a person standing in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao didn't pay much attention to this person all along. Now it seemed that this person was his opponent. A 9th-level divine vein realm cultivator with decent strength. However, Ling Xiao wasn't interested. Oh, his gaze was still focused on the second arena. This was because Nieshuang was fighting with a primal core realm cultivator there. Nieshuang seemed to be hiding her strength on purpose. She didn't show her true strength. However, she still finished off her opponent in one move. Very strong. Ling Xiao sighed with emotion. He had already walked up to the arena. Kid, you actually dare to look down on me. Do you know who I am? Xiao Chen's disregard made his opponent very angry. No matter who you are, just admit defeat. Otherwise, you will suffer physical pain. Ling Xiao looked at his opponent and said indifferently. The person before him had delicate skin and tender flesh. With one look, it was obvious that he was a cultivator from a large clan. Xiao Chen wasn't interested, so he asked his opponent to surrender directly. Chapter 3680. Damn it, I'm Shangguan Feng. I'm from the Shangguan Trading Company, the son of the richest man in Violet Spirit Capital. How dare you look down on me? Shang Guanfeng was furious. When Ling Xiao heard the name, he was startled for a second. Shang Guanfeng? Do you know Shang Guan Mingyu and Shang Guan Yu? The reason he was able to come to Violet's spirit capital was because he was here to escort Shang Guan Mingyu and Shang Guan Yu. Those two sisters were actually not bad. That was why he had a good impression of them. That's why he asked. Hee, those two pieces of trash. They failed to escort the Violet Sun pills. Now they have been demoted to slaves by the family. You know them? You're also a piece of trash. Shang Guanfeng sneered. Demoted to slaves? How is that possible? Ling Xiao was surprised. Shang Guan Yu and Shang Guan Mingyu were the direct blood relatives of the Shangguan family. Weren't the people of this family a bit too cold-blooded? It looked like he would have to pay them a visit when he had the time. No matter what, they were still friends. If it was convenient, he wouldn't mind giving them a hand. Kid, you know those two pieces of trash, but you don't know me, Shang Guanfeng. You're too ignorant. I'm one of the top 3 men under the age of 30 in Violet Spirit Nation. Although I'm only at the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm, even an Origin Core Warrior is no match for me. What's the difference? Ling Xiao said with disdain. Those who weren't Divine Core Warriors might not be able to hurt him, let alone defeat him. Perhaps it was because of Ling Xiao's special identity, and the fact that Shang Guanfeng was quite famous. Therefore, the first arena had attracted the attention of nearly half of the audience. Yu Qilong, Yu Hao, Nia Feng, Tang Yi, Tang Bing, and Nie Shuang, who had just finished her fight, were all looking at the arena. As the main judge, Zilong paid special attention to this fight as well. As the person in charge, Zi Qinya was no exception. Barbarian Xiong was also standing among the crowd, shouting excitedly. Although he knew Ling Xiao couldn't hear him, he was still very excited. Gue Su said in a strange tone, King, you shouldn't have admitted Ling Xiao's identity so early. Otherwise, if he loses the first battle, it will be a disgrace to you. Even though Shang Guanfeng's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm, he was stronger than most of the Essence Core realm martial artists. In addition, the Shangguan clan was a big family with a lot of businesses, so they definitely had a lot of magic treasures. It will be very difficult for Ling Xiao to win. Is it embarrassing? I don't think so. Zi Qinya believed that a man who was able to severely injure a 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior, even if he had used some sort of special method, he would still be able to do it. He wasn't someone that a martial artist at the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm could defeat. Yu Hao, what do you think? Yu Qilong asked. It's really hard to judge this kid's strength. The illusion formation from before was really terrifying. However, I am certain that even if he can defeat Shang Guanfeng, his consumption will be huge. He might even be seriously injured. The rest time that followed was definitely not enough for him to fully recover. Therefore, he was unlucky this time. To think that I would encounter such a powerful opponent right from the start. Yu Hao analyzed. Your opinion is exactly the same as mine. Yu Qilong nodded. Tang Yi and Tang Bing were gloating at Shang Guanfeng's misfortune. Shang Guanfeng had offended one of the top 3 geniuses in the Purple Spirit Kingdom. Ling Xiao had finally received his retribution. Kid, don't think that just because you're the king's favorite, I won't beat you up. Today, I'll let you know how powerful I, Shang Guanfeng, am. Shang Guanfeng saw that Ling Xiao didn't take him seriously at all, and had an uninterested expression on his face. Shang Guanfeng was instantly enraged. He didn't want to waste any more time. He wanted to use his own strength to make this Ling Xiao kneel down and beg for mercy. He wanted to show the king that he was a true genius. A piece of trash with an unknown background like Shang Guanfeng was not qualified to sit next to the king. Shang Guanfeng started circulating his true yuan, unleashing a powerful aura. The shadow of a sword appeared behind his back. Sword Martial Soul. Although it was a simple weapon Martial Soul, it was much easier to strengthen. right when Shangguan Feng unleashed his sword martial soul. The terrifying sword will immediately caused many people to reveal shocked expressions. Ha ha ha, Feng is indeed the #1 genius of the Shangguan family. At the age of 18, he has already cultivated to the 9th level of the divine vein realm. That opponent shouldn't be his match, right? Only a few people knew that Ling Xiao was powerful. Most people only knew that he was at the 8th level of the divine vein realm. With Shangguan Feng's combat strength, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to deal with an 8th level divine vein realm martial artist? Maybe Feng will give the king some face and give him 3 moves. After all, Ling Xiao is related to the king. That's true. The gap between the two of them is too big. The people of the Shangguan family were obviously full of confidence in Shangguan Feng. After all, Shangguan Feng's strength wasn't bragged, but gained through battle after battle. No one dared to underestimate him. Facing Shangguan Feng's rising aura, Ling Xiao's expression was still indifferent. He didn't even use his beast soul transformation. He only unleashed his innate divine demon sword soul. Although they were both sword martial souls, Ling Xiao's innate god fiend sword soul gave off an overwhelming aura. Shangguan Feng's sword martial soul actually began to tremble. The aura of his martial soul also became much weaker. Looks like you're not good enough. Ling Xiao sneered. In order to prevent others from saying that he cheated, he wanted to defeat Shangguan Feng after he used all his strength. In this way, he could clear his name. That was why he waited and didn't make a move. Otherwise, with his speed and attack power, Shangguan Feng would already be below the arena. Ling Xiao's sword martial soul is so terrifying. Is it an innate sword soul? But he's only at the 8th level of the divine vein realm. How could he cultivate an innate sword soul? It seems to be of a higher level than mine. My martial soul is only at the 10th level of the innate realm. Ziqinya was very surprised. Ling Xiao gave her another big surprise. However, I'm afraid that he can't defeat Nieshuang with his innate sword soul. She's a real genius. I guess her martial soul has reached the innate realm. Ziqinya frowned. She hoped that Ling Xiao would win the championship. But some things couldn't be achieved with just hope. After all, the enemy was too strong. Kill! Shangguan Feng was furious. His sword martial soul was suppressed by his opponent. His opponent was still mocking him. He couldn't bear it anymore. His feet trembled, and he instantly rushed out. His speed was extremely fast. Anyway, Ling Xiao had seen many martial artists at the 9th level of the divine vein realm. None of them could match Shangguan Feng in terms of speed. Shangguan Feng not only cultivated a first-level Emperor realm movement technique, but also wore galloping boots on his feet. It's a very expensive treasure. It can almost double a martial artist's speed. Each pair of boots is worth at least 1 million upper-level spirit stones, and it's extremely difficult to make. Only the top spirit augmentation masters in the 4 major regions can make them, but it can only be used for 100 days. The 100 days refers to the actual time it can be used. So the more it is used, the sooner it will lose its effect. How will Ling Xiao deal with it? Ziqinya thought. Chapter 3681. Ziqinya watched the fight on the stage. She was analyzing the situation in her mind. Although she had promised to be Ling Xiao's sister, but she had to say something embarrassing. She knew too little about Ling Xiao. She knew nothing about Ling Xiao's abilities. But when she thought about it carefully, Ling Xiao was able to save Zilong from a 2nd-level divine core warrior. He shouldn't be too slow, right? Looking at Shangguan Feng's attack, Ling Xiao yawned in front of everyone. It was as if he was bored. Bang! The frightening attack finally landed on Ling Xiao's body. It was a sword. The sword pierced right into Ling Xiao's chest. Many people were so scared that they closed their eyes. Some people were screaming. Some people were so excited that they stood up. Someone had died right at the beginning of the arena. This was quite exciting. Not to mention the fact that the person who died was related to the king, Zi Qinya. But in the next second, everyone was stunned, including Zilong and Zi Qinya, and Shangguan Feng, who was still attacking. The sword in his hand was a divine Grade Emperor artifact. Only big families like the King's Palace and the Shangguan clan could get their hands on a weapon like this. Most divine Vane warriors couldn't even afford a weapon like this. But the sword couldn't pierce through Ling Xiao's body. "Is the sword in your hand a toy?" Ling Xiao sneered. "If this is your so-called strength, then I'm going to end this fight." After saying that, Ling Xiao suddenly stretched out his hand and punched Shangguan Feng's body. Shangguan Feng was sent flying away. Crack! The sound of ribs breaking could be heard. Ling Xiao had actually gone easy on Shangguan Feng with this punch. After all, he didn't have any grudges against the Shangguan clan. If he did, he wouldn't have used his fist, but his sword. Shangguan Feng was sent flying away, and he fell heavily onto the stage. Blood was pouring out from his mouth. This was impossible. Everyone had the same thought in their minds. It didn't matter if it was those who believed Ling Xiao or Shangguan Feng. They all had the same thought. No one had expected such a strange scene to occur. Shangguan Feng. That was Shangguan Feng. A terrifying existence that even primal core realm martial artists feared. He had countless treasures on him, disregarding everything else. Just the divine Grade Emperor artifact, and the galloping boots were not something that others could possess. Moreover, he should be wearing some kind of defensive soft armor. Even so, his ribs were still broken. This was too outrageous. Cough, cough. Everyone, did you see that? I'm not the only one dreaming, right? It's not a dream. It's real. No wonder this Ling Xiao is qualified to sit beside the king and goddess. His strength is one of the best among the young people, right? Bullsh asterisk T. I think Shangguan Feng showed mercy because he wanted to give face to the monarch. This was the reason why he was ambushed by Ling Xiao. Young Master Shangguan still hasn't used his Emperor grade martial skill yet. Once he uses it, do you think Ling Xiao will still dare to stand there and let him hit him? Obviously, there were also some people who thought highly of themselves. They felt that Ling Xiao could send Shangguan Feng flying purely because Shangguan Feng had underestimated him. For example, Tang Yi and Tang Bing thought so. Or rather, those who didn't want Ling Xiao to win basically all thought so. Interesting. I only thought he was fast. I didn't expect his defense to be so strong. Zi Qinya's eyes flashed with excitement. To her, it was really worth it to take in this younger brother. Even Zilong, who was the main referee, almost cheered. If it weren't for his identity as the main referee, he would have jumped up. Monarch, that Ling Xiao is too cocky. He actually pretended to take his opponent's attack head-on. Isn't this mocking the Shangguan family? Even our monarch residence doesn't need to offend the richest person in Purple Spirit Capital. The ruins of Sinkhole was extremely displeased. Ling Xiao had the upper hand, which made him quite angry. At this time, Shangguan Feng had already climbed up from the arena. Compared to before, his eyes were crazy and scary. It was as if he wanted to kill someone. His face was extremely ferocious. There's no need to be so angry. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, I've already shown mercy. You'd better go down obediently. I have no enmity with your Shangguan family. I don't want to kill people casually. You don't want to, but I do. If I don't kill you today, my name is not Shangguan Feng. Shangguan Feng was furious. He had lived in the care of his elders since he was young, and he had never left Purple Spirit Capital, so he had never been bullied by others. Among the younger generation, he had a great reputation. Today, all of this was torn apart by Ling Xiao. He was extremely violent. He wanted to regain his face. You want to tear me apart alive? You can't do it in your current state. Take whatever pills you have. I'll wait. Ling Xiao wanted to establish his prestige in this battle. so he wanted to make Shangguan Feng admit defeat. He wanted to silence those who doubted and questioned him. After saying that, he simply sat there and looked at the other arenas. Right now, many of the first battles on the arenas had already ended. Then, the second round of battles began. Because there were more people in the beginning, there was a huge gap in strength between the warriors. Most of the battles were settled with just 2 to 3 strikes. But the closer it was to the end, the harder the battles would be. But Ling Xiao only had one target, and that was Nie Shuang, who was a first-rank divine core warrior. After a while, Shangguan Feng's injuries had basically healed. The Shangguan family was a wealthy family, so they naturally had a lot of pills. Something as small as a broken rib couldn't even be considered an injury. Ling Xiao, you'll regret this. How dare you let me heal my injuries? Looking at Ling Xiao, Shangguan Feng revealed a hint of Ling Xiao. Ancestral strength, bless me. Shangguan Feng suddenly let out a loud roar. The red dot on his forehead suddenly disappeared. What replaced it was a frightening energy that was injected into his body. At this moment, Ling Xiao could feel that Shangguan Feng's strength had reached the origin core realm. And it was the origin core realm with a 90% completed water core. He was just one step away from the divine core realm. No wonder this guy was so confident. He actually had such a special ability. Let me tell you the truth. Under this condition, I once fought 3 origin core warriors at the same time, and I killed 3 of them. Originally, I planned to use this trump card at a critical moment, like when I'm fighting Nie Shuang. Since you force me to use the ancestral strength, even if I lose, it's still an honor. The dispirited look on Shangguan Feng's face had completely disappeared. What replaced it was confidence. Strong confidence. Is there nothing else? Ling Xiao yawned again. I gave you so much time to prepare, and this is all you've got? That's right, you've become stronger, but you're still within the divine vein realm. Is there a difference? That Ling Xiao is still being stubborn. After using the ancestral strength, young Master Shangguan will be able to withstand 3 to 4 attacks from a first-rank divine core warrior. How can he be so arrogant? Chapter 3682. Kill him, young Master Shangguan. The people of the Shangguan family were very upset. They felt that Ling Xiao was too arrogant. Kid, don't be arrogant. Taste my attack. Then you will know what is terrifying. Kill. Shangguan Feng no longer spoke nonsense and charged towards Ling Xiao once more. And this time, he even used a first-level Emperor class martial skill. The attack was several times stronger than the previous one. Ling Xiao did not neglect it. His body instantly entered the Cerberus beast soul transformation state. His whole body seemed to be wrapped in a layer of magma armor. It was blazing. It was violent. It was powerful. Facing Shangguan Feng's attack, he still did not move. He allowed Shangguan Feng's violent attacks to hit his body. Kid, this time I will pierce your heart. Do you want to die? I will fulfill your wish. Shangguan Feng sneered. The other party probably did not know how terrifying his ancestor's power was. He actually made such a stupid decision. It just gave him a chance to kill him. Clang! The long sword hit the same position as Ling Xiao. The terrifying power even blew Ling Xiao's hair up. There were also bursts of explosions in the surrounding air. However, what made Shangguan Feng depressed was that this sword still did not penetrate Ling Xiao's body. I've said it before, this little bit of improvement is completely meaningless. Get lost. This time, Ling Xiao directly kicked out and sent Shangguan Feng flying. This kick made Shangguan Feng's body curl up like a shrimp. He felt worse than before. Lying on the ground, he couldn't get up for a long time. People looked at this scene and were numb. This Ling Xiao is simply too strong. Shangguan Feng even used his ancestor's power. He still can't break his defense. He must have some defensive magic treasure on him. Otherwise, it is impossible to be unscathed. It must be given to him by the monarch. I am so envious. In the end, everyone still couldn't believe Ling Xiao's strength. After all, he was only at the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Twice in a row, he easily sent a peak Primal Core Realm martial artist flying. This scene was simply too bizarre. It was too ridiculous. The people of the Shangguan clan couldn't accept it the most. The Shangguan clan's sword martial spirit had always been good at attacking. Coupled with the fact that it was a divine grade emperor artifact, its attack power was even more terrifying. However, in the face of Ling Xiao's defense, everything seemed to be in vain. It was meaningless. Shangguan Feng was the most outstanding genius in their family. A strong sense of frustration and helplessness instantly arose. They no longer held out any hope. Good lad. Looks like you've hidden your strength well. Zi Qianye smiled very happily. It turned out that his worries were unnecessary. You should have other tricks up your sleeves, right? Use them all. Otherwise, this battle would be so boring that I wouldn't even be in the mood to be serious. Ling Xiao looked at Shangguan Feng and said lightly, Well, you forced me to do this. Although I haven't mastered this move yet, I'll use you to test it. Shangguan Feng finally got up again, in the face of the discussion and ridicule of the audience. At this time he only had one thought, and that was to kill Ling Xiao. Only by killing Ling Xiao could he walk out of the humiliation. Otherwise, he would have lost all his face today. He wouldn't be qualified to laugh at Shangguan Mingyu and Shangguan Yu. He swallowed a pill. His injuries began to recover. After a while, he felt almost recovered. He pointed the divine Great Emperor artifact in his hand at Ling Xiao again. The sharp sword light kept swallowing and spitting. A terrifying force began to brew. It was a 2nd level Emperor martial technique. Even in the Z Mansion army, only martial artists at the level of Major General were qualified to practice it. Shangguan Feng was different. The Shangguan clan was too rich. Therefore, as long as there was a good martial technique at any auction, he wouldn't miss it. Since he was the most outstanding genius of the Shangguan clan, he naturally wouldn't be forgotten. Before the start of this year's martial arts competition, Huang Xiaolong had finally succeeded in cultivating a low-grade 2nd order emperor grade martial skill. Although it was only a small success, its power was incomparable to a 1st level emperor martial technique. 2nd level emperor martial technique, Sword of Destruction. The explosive version of his power seemed to be very difficult to control, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Shangguan Feng was only a 9th level Divine Vein Realm martial artist. He forcefully used his ancestors' power to raise his strength to the peak of the Origin Core Realm. But to control a 2nd level Emperor martial technique that only Divine Core warriors could control well, it was still very difficult. The sword in his hand, it was trembling. The terrifying sword light seemed like it was going to break away from the sword. He finally couldn't control it. He let the force flow out crazily. Not good. What frightened Shangguan Feng was that although he released this martial technique, he didn't aim at Ling Xiao. However, it was not aimed at Ling Xiao. Instead, it was aimed at the audience behind Ling Xiao. The effective range of this terrifying martial technique was not short. If it really hit the spectator stands, it was likely that many people would die. But the direction of this attack was the king's mansion. At this moment, Shangguan Feng's face turned pale. Although the Shangguan family was the richest family in Purple Spirit City, but if they killed the people of the king's mansion, they would be in big trouble. Zi Qianye had already stood up. She wanted to stop this uncontrollable attack. In fact, if Ling Xiao let the attack fly away, it wouldn't affect him at all. But he didn't do that. He didn't plan to do that. This was a chance to prove himself. Didn't you say that I relied on magical treasures to strengthen my defense? What else can you say when I use my attack to forcefully stop a 2nd level Emperor martial technique? At this moment, the crowd was surprised to find that Ling Xiao actually appeared in the path of the 2nd level Emperor martial technique. Then, 8 swords appeared around his body at the same time. 8 different sword lights were formed. Then they merged into one. 8 swords in one. The power of the 8 swords in one was not as powerful as the last move of the 9 transformation techniques, but it was much more powerful than the 4th move. It had reached the power of a 2nd-level Emperor martial technique. Every time Ling Xiao's strength improved, he would try to use the 9 sovereigns' sword techniques. After all, he had mastered all 10 sword techniques. He just needed to merge them in battle. The power of the 7 swords in one was only at the 1st-level Emperor martial technique. The 8 swords in one was at the 2nd-level Emperor martial technique. It was not inferior to Sword Master Bahuang at all, even because Ling Xiao's strength was stronger. This attack possessed a crushing advantage over Sword Master 8 Desolation. Shattered. Sword Master Bahuang had no power to resist and was shattered in an instant. On the other hand, Ling Xiao elegantly withdrew his 8 swords. He looked at his opponent coldly. Shangguan Feng had already knelt down. His strongest attack had actually been shattered so easily by his opponent. He no longer had the courage to fight. I admit defeat. Admitting defeat was not a word that should come out of his mouth, but he had to admit it. He was completely convinced, completely submissive and obedient. Ling Xiao's attack and defense were far superior to his. Chapter 3683. Facing Ling Xiao's formidable strength, Shangguan Feng was completely convinced. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's last strike that stopped his attack, even if he couldn't hurt anyone from the King Palace, he would have been slandered by someone who tried to assassinate the king. That would be a great sin. Thank you for helping me. You're such a good person. Shangguan Feng said with mixed emotions. Ling Xiao responded with a faint smile. He didn't deny it. Although he didn't do it to help Shangguan Feng. He just wanted to test his sword skills with the help of the 2nd-grade Emperor ranked martial skill. But it wasn't a bad thing to have someone owe him a favor. You don't have to thank me. When you go back, treat Shangguan Mingyu and Shangguan Yu better. They're my friends. Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. Don't worry, I will. Shangguan Feng was very grateful to Ling Xiao. It turned out that Ling Xiao didn't look down on him. He just didn't want to hurt him. Otherwise, with Ling Xiao's strength, with just one strike, Shangguan Feng would have died. Since Shangguan Feng has admitted defeat, I announce that Ling Xiao has advanced to the next round. Zilong couldn't wait any longer and shouted out loudly. Actually, he didn't need to announce this. After all, it was just a battle between 2 different stages. The assistant judge could just announce it. But no one cared about this at this moment. Ling Xiao's strength made everyone's hearts filled with shock. Even those who had originally thought highly of Ling Xiao were very surprised. They thought that even if Ling Xiao could defeat Shangguan Feng, he would be severely wounded. But he was actually unharmed. He might become a strong contender for the champion. Stop joking. I believe he can enter the top 3, or even the 2nd place. But the champion? No divine vein warrior has ever defeated a divine core warrior. There hasn't been one in the past, and there won't be one in the future. It's even more impossible for Ling Xiao to do so. Although Ling Xiao's performance was heaven-defying, however, he had only defeated a divine vein realm cultivator. The difference between a divine vein warrior and a divine core warrior was 100 times stronger. This was not something that could be made up for with just a few tricks. Therefore, they acknowledged Ling Xiao's strength and even believed that Ling Xiao could get 2nd place. However, they still felt that the championship belonged to Nieshuang. Of course, the suspicion and contempt from before had now turned into reverence. No one dared to underestimate this young man anymore. That trash Shangguan Feng is really useless. Now it seems that only Nieshuang can deal with this kid. Tang Yi was very unhappy. However, he had to admit that Ling Xiao was no longer the same Ling Xiao who had just joined the Z Mansion army. Half a month on the bloody battlefield had allowed Ling Xiao's strength to rise to a terrifying level. "Grandpa, I've advanced." At this moment, Tang Bing walked over. However, he wasn't very excited, although he had also advanced. However, Ling Xiao had not been defeated, which made him somewhat unhappy. "Of course you have to advance. Otherwise, wouldn't the treasures that grandfather gave you be wasted?" Tang Yi confidently said, "But you must remember not to use that thing easily. Unless you meet Ling Xiao, don't take it out. That treasure is something that I found in the ruins of the bloody battlefield. I'm afraid that even divine core warriors will be jealous of it." "Is it really useful?" Tang Bing asked doubtfully. "Of course it's useful. You'll know when you meet Ling Xiao." Tang Yi let out a cold laugh. When no one else could be counted on, he could only count on himself. He wasn't sure if Nie Shuang could kill Ling Xiao. Therefore, it was the best choice to let his grandson take action. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao didn't know about the conversation between Tang Bing and Tang Yi. After the battle, he returned to his seat and rested. Qinya laughed. "Not bad, little guy. No wonder Xiaolong respects you so much. Looks like you still have a lot of secrets." "I'm sorry, Sister Queen. There are some things that I can't tell you right now. I'll tell you when I have the chance in the future." Ling Xiao and Qinya weren't familiar with each other. Instead, he trusted Zilong a lot. It was just that Zilong's mouth was too big, and he didn't keep it in check. Whatever he told Zilong, it would probably spread out the next day. Therefore, there were some things that Ling Xiao didn't tell the siblings. "Don't worry, you can tell me when you feel like it." Qinya wouldn't tell his secrets to someone he had just met for a few days. Therefore, he didn't blame Ling Xiao. After that, both of them sat together and watched the battles. Ling Xiao also hoped to find something useful from the battles. After all, there was always something to learn from. Even if those people weren't as good as him, there was still something good about them. The battles went by quickly. There were a total of 25 battles in each arena. Since most of the battles had a huge difference in strength, the battles ended quickly. Half of the participants were eliminated. The next 2,500 people were divided into 50 arenas to fight. Just like before, each arena had 50 participants. Ling Xiao's opponent this time was very weak. He was just a 7th level divine vein warrior. He didn't even make a move and just used his aura to intimidate his opponent. In the end, his opponent admitted defeat. Nie Shuang's opponent was also defeated in one move. Tang Bing also advanced successfully. However, he didn't rely on his strength, but on his talisman. He really had a good grandfather. In the third round, the three of them also advanced. Even the process was no different. This continued until there were only 50 participants left. Everyone was fighting in the same arena. At this time, the remaining participants were basically all elites. Except for Ling Xiao and Tang Bing, one was at the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm, while the other was at the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. As for the rest, the weakest was at the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm. There were also many Primal Core Realm martial artists. However, the evaluation of Ling Xiao and Tang Bing was very different. Ling Xiao was said to be the person who was most likely to threaten Nie Shuang. However, Tang Bing was said to have a good grandfather. It couldn't be helped. This guy used Dharma treasures and talismans to complete all his battles. His strength was basically useless. Something interesting happened at this time. Perhaps it was heaven's arrangement. The first round of battles of the last 50 participants. It was actually Ling Xiao and Tang Bing. One of them relied on himself, while the other relied on his grandfather. Who would make it to the end attracted a lot of attention. Ling Xiao had seen Tang Bing's battle before. Although the other party was a piece of trash, he didn't underestimate him. He used his beast soul transformation right from the start. He only had one evaluation of Tang Bing's battle. It's good to have me. In terms of true strength, he could destroy Tang Bing with a single finger. However, The other party had many Dharma treasures and talismans. It was really not easy to deal with. He had to be very careful. He couldn't fail because of carelessness. Therefore, he used his beast soul transformation right from the start. Moreover, it was the yin-yang universal light tiger beast soul transformation. This was currently the fastest transformation. The corner of Tang Yi's mouth curled up into a cold smile. We finally met. Ling Xiao, let my grandson take your life in front of those people. Chapter 3684. Tang Yi knew how terrifying the item he gave Tang Bing was. The item would backfire and cause Tang Bing to be severely injured, and it would take him at least 1 year to recover. But as long as he could kill Ling Xiao, it would be worth it. Everyone was paying close attention to this fight. Right at this moment, Tang Bing took out the item he had always wanted to use, but never had the chance to. His grandfather had told him that once he used this item, all warriors below the divine core realm would be killed. Even a first-level divine core warrior would be affected by it. Although he really wanted to use this item to fight for the championship. However, his hatred for Ling Xiao had clearly surpassed the competition for the championship. At this moment, Ling Xiao felt a huge threat. He furrowed his brows. Then he relaxed his brows, and a grin emerged on his face. Tang He, oh Tang He, in order to kill me, you've really put in a lot of effort. Since you're not obedient, don't blame me for being merciless. I let Tang Bing go last time, but this time I'll let you die before your own. No one noticed Ling Xiao's grin. Their attention was focused on the talisman in Tang Bing's hand. The talisman instantly unleashed a dazzling light. It covered the entire arena. Body securing talisman. It's a body securing talisman. Furthermore, it was a divine emperor level body securing talisman. A body securing talisman of this level is something no divine vein warrior can defend against. Even warriors below the 3rd level divine core realm will be affected by it. Many people recognized the talisman in Tang Bing's hand. Because they recognized it, they cried out in shock. Ling Xiao, dodge that light. Zi Qinya's voice suddenly sounded out in Ling Xiao's mind. Zi Qinya knew something was wrong, and that was why she hastily informed Ling Xiao, asking him to dodge the light. Sister Queen, thank you for your kindness, but there's no need to do that. Ling Xiao lightly shook his head. The Tai Chi I had told him how terrifying the body securing talisman was. But in this world, anything that defied the natural order had its weakness. This body securing talisman was no exception. Furthermore, the arena was only so big, and the light of the body securing talisman completely enveloped it. Unless he jumped off the stage and admitted defeat, there was no way he could avoid it. Rather than wasting energy, it was better to just stand there and not move. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Ling Xiao was covered by the light of the body securing talisman. Immediately, it was as if a body-fixing spell had been cast on him. He froze there, not moving at all. As I expected, this body-securing talisman does indeed have a flaw. At this moment, the others were watching anxiously. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, felt relieved, because the moment he was frozen, he had verified his previous conjecture. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about it. Even if he lost because of the body securing talisman, Ling Xiao has already done very well. Gui Su said hypocritically. At this moment he was secretly delighted. Once this body securing talisman was released, even he would be frozen for a moment. Nothing could be done. Ling Xiao was only at the 8th level of the divine vein realm, and his situation was definitely worse than Jiang Yi's. It's over, it's over. This Tang Bing actually has a divine grade emperor weapon body, securing talisman. This was something that even divine core warriors would be jealous of. Even our king mansion doesn't have it. Zi Qinya's grandmother, that interesting old lady, was also panicking. Zi Qinya's expression was ugly as well. Ling Xiao's strength was obvious to everyone, but The troublesome thing was the national martial competition didn't forbid the use of pills or talismans. Therefore, what Tang Bing did wasn't against the rules. As the king, she couldn't stop him. In order to kill Ling Xiao, that old man Tang, he has really put in a lot of effort. Yu Hao chuckled. A divine Great Emperor weapon body securing talisman. Even Nie Shuang would be in trouble if she encountered it. Nie Feng furrowed his brows and said, "Humph. Even if I stand there and let him hit me, he won't be able to hurt me." Nie Shuang said, disdainfully, "Too bad. I wanted to end this interesting kid with my own hands." I didn't expect that Tang Bing would take the lead. Almost everyone thought that Ling Xiao had no chance of winning. After all, a divine Great Emperor weapon body securing talisman wasn't an ordinary thing. Hee, this is the martial arts tournament. You can do whatever you want. If I had a body securing talisman, I would have used it long ago. After all, becoming the king's disciple is definitely a great thing. It's worth sacrificing a body securing talisman. It's a pity for Ling Xiao. He's very strong, but he met a rich opponent. Although many people felt that this might be unfair to Ling Xiao was not the only one. But the rules were like that. Even if they wanted to change the rules, they could only wait until the next martial arts tournament or the next battle. The rules of this tournament, or rather, this battle, couldn't be changed casually. Otherwise, the King Mansion's prestige would be ruined. Zi Long was the most displeased, but as the main referee, he couldn't say anything. No matter how upset he was, the other party didn't break the rules, even though everyone else was fighting for Ling Xiao. But Ling Xiao himself was extremely calm. In fact, when he participated in this martial arts tournament, he knew that someone was going to target him. The 10,000 people in the chaotic battle wanted to kill him. Nie Shuang probably wouldn't let him go. Tang Bing definitely wanted him dead. Perhaps there were still some people's pawns among the remaining warriors. If he didn't even have the ability to deal with these difficulties, it would be a little too embarrassing. Since he dared to be arrogant, he had the ability to be arrogant. Hee Ling Xiao, you didn't expect this day to come, did you? Tang Bing took out a short knife, aimed at Ling Xiao's throat and sneered. Sister, he wants to kill Ling Xiao. Zi Long was anxious. He even ignored his identity as the referee and was about to attack. No one move. Just as Zi Long was about to rush over, Ling Xiao's voice was transmitted to their minds. Zi Long and Zi Qinya were stunned. Then they saw a strange change in the arena. Ling Xiao was still unable to move, but Tang Bing fainted in pain in the arena. He was bleeding from his 7 orifices and was unconscious. He was about to die. What happened? Many people were stunned. Just now, Tang Bing used the immobilization talisman to immobilize Ling Xiao, trying to kill Ling Xiao while Ling Xiao was unable to move. Why was it Tang Bing who fell in the blink of an eye? Moreover, Tang Bing was seriously injured and was on the verge of dying. Grandson! Tang, he was also stunned. He stood up and rushed to the arena. However, he was knocked back by Zi Long's punch. The battle is not over yet. No one is allowed to interfere. We admit defeat. We admit defeat, okay? Tang, he didn't want his grandson to die too. That would be too big of a blow to him. Only the contestant can admit defeat. Otherwise, if he goes back on his word, we can't do anything. Zi Long shook his head. His attitude was very firm. Tang Bing used the immobilization talisman to deal with Ling Xiao. This made him extremely unhappy. Because of this, he absolutely couldn't let Tang Bing go easily. Qinya, he's about to die. Let him go. Yu Qilong also stood up and spoke at this time. Chapter 3685. Yu Qilong knew how to behave. He wanted the public to see his benevolent side and how he cared for his subordinates. However, those who knew his true colors knew how terrifying he was. Xiaolong, step aside. Let him take him away. Zi Qinya had to give Yu Qilong face. After all, Yu Qilong was the one who brought the 9 lives flower. She owed Yu Qilong a big favor. She had to pay him back. Sister. Zi Long had no choice but to step aside. After all, he always listened to Zi Qinya's words. Did I say that I would spare him? Just when everyone thought that this matter was going to be settled, a cold voice sounded. Then a sword light flashed. There was a red mark on Tang Bing's throat. He was finally dead. How dare you? The monarch said that he would let him go. How dare you kill him? Yu Qilong was furious. Someone dared to humiliate him in front of so many people. Zi Qinya. She seems to have forgotten the rules of the martial arts competition. She can't break the rules for me. I don't blame her. However, she broke the rules because of Yu Qilong's words. I don't understand. To be honest, Ling Xiao felt very uncomfortable. It was like a younger brother seeing his sister protect others, but not him. He felt wronged. Zi Qinya was stunned. She immediately understood why Ling Xiao felt wronged. It was also the rules. However, she made a different choice. She was really wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't think it through. Zi Qinya admitted that she was Ling Xiao's sister in front of everyone. She even apologized. She really gave Ling Xiao a lot of face. Ling Xiao was not the kind of person who didn't know what was good for him. What Zi Qinya did just now was probably just a moment of confusion. There was no need to be calculative. Did you hear that, Yu Qilong? The rules are the rules. Even if you are the Lieutenant General of the Zi Mansion Army, you can't break the rules of the martial arts competition. Ling Xiao looked at Yu Qilong with disdain between his brows. Since he already knew that Yu Qilong wanted to kill him, then there was no need for him to show any respect to this person. In any case, he would die if he went against him. Even if he didn't talk back, he would still die. It was better to make it more spectacular. Ha ha ha, well said. Rules are rules. As the main referee, I give you a thumbs up. Zi Long was probably the happiest of them all. He could uphold the rules and help Ling Xiao at the same time. There was nothing more perfect than this. Tang Yi glanced coldly at Ling Xiao before putting Tang Bing's body into his storage ring. He had no intention of leaving, because he wanted to see Ling Xiao die. If he did not see Ling Xiao die, he would not be able to sleep well. Ling Xiao left the arena. Everyone started discussing again. How did he do it just now? Under the effect of the body-securing talisman, it can still kill people? If you ask me, who should I ask? Among the people present, only a few people saw through the clues. As for the majority of the people, they were still in a state of confusion. Gui Su, sorry to disappoint you. Ling Xiao hasn't lost yet. Zi Qinya looked at Gui Su and said with a smile. Gui Su smiled awkwardly. He also did not expect that under such circumstances, Ling Xiao could still turn the tables. Gui Su is ignorant. May I ask, Your Majesty, what method did Ling Xiao use to win? He couldn't help but ask. Have you heard of soul techniques? Or it can also be called soul techniques, soul techniques. Zi Qinya said with a smile. Soul techniques. I see. Gui Su suddenly came to a realization. To be honest, not only him, but Zi Qinya was also very surprised. Not only was Ling Xiao talented in martial arts, but he also had such attainments in soul techniques. This was really very rare. The following battle continued steadily. Finally, it came to the final battle. As expected by everyone, this final battle was the battle between Ling Xiao and Nieshuang. Finally, this battle is going to happen. Perhaps it will be the most exciting battle. The audience stared at the two people in the arena. On the contrary, the person who got third place was directly ignored by everyone. He, Su Hua, was also an expert of the inner core realm. In the competition, he had only lost to Nieshuang, and Nieshuang also took 10 moves to defeat him. His talent was even stronger than Shangguan Feng, but there was no other way. What people were still paying attention to was still the battle for the championship. To be honest, this person called Su was somewhat looked down on Ling Xiao. He thought that if he met Ling Xiao instead of Nie Shuang, he would definitely be able to enter the finals. Unfortunately, he was unlucky. He could not blame anyone. He was also very concerned about the battle between Ling Xiao and Nie Shuang. But from the bottom of his heart, he absolutely supported Nie Shuang. Nie Shuang was the person who defeated him. She was a powerhouse. He was sincerely convinced. In the arena, Nie Shuang did not talk nonsense at all when facing Ling Xiao. When the referee gave the order to start, she directly made her move. She immediately used the first-grade Emperor Realm Martial skill of the Purple Mansion Army, 9-layered demonic slash. When she swung the 2 short blades in her hands, she looked like the deadly blades of the god of death. As for those 2 short blades of hers, they were also divine quality Emperor armaments. She didn't use them in the previous battles, but when facing Ling Xiao, she used them. Go to hell obediently. Don't suffer too much pain. Nie Shuang's cold voice sounded out. Her cold-killing intent caused many people in the audience to feel a chill down their spines. Die. I haven't lived long enough yet. 8 swords in 1. Since his opponent was stronger than him, he would use an even stronger martial skill. The frightening attacks collided with each other. Ling Xiao was still pushed back dozens of steps, but Nie Shuang didn't even take a single step back. The gap is still too big. The Sworn Society's president is only at the early first-grade Divine Core Realm, but this Nie Shuang is at the perfect first-grade Divine Core Realm. Looks like I have to play a little harder. If not, I won't be able to win this battle. What he was thinking about was the 3 consecutive attacks he used against the second-grade Divine Core Warrior. But right now, Nie Shuang was extremely cautious. She didn't underestimate her opponent like that guy. It wouldn't be easy to deal with him. Therefore, he had to stabilize himself first, then wait for an opportunity to attack. Pooh! Ling Xiao spat out a mouthful of blood. With a grin on his face, he said, "The attack of a Divine Core Warrior is just SO. Judging from your cultivation, I think you've relied on someone else to increase your cultivation. Your foundation isn't stable. Instead of saying you're at the perfect first-grade Divine Core Realm, I think you're at most at the mid-first-grade Divine Core Realm. The gap is too big. It's true that you're a genius, but you've wasted your talent. You're too lazy." Many people were startled by what he said. Was Ling Xiao lecturing Nie Shuang? But from the looks of it, he was the one who was at a disadvantage. Looks like a first-grade Emperor Realm Martial skill can't kill you. Fine. Second-grade Emperor Realm Martial skill. 100 Steps Divine Fist. Nie Shuang was annoyed by Ling Xiao's words. She wanted to kill Ling Xiao as soon as possible. She wanted to prove that her strength was far greater than Ling Xiao's, and that she didn't rely on someone else like Ling Xiao said. Although what he said was the truth, she couldn't admit it. Chapter 3686. They were both using the 100 Steps Divine Fist, but Nie Shuang's attack was obviously weaker than the second-rank Divine Core Assassins. Therefore, even when facing such a powerful attack, Ling Xiao didn't show any signs of fear. What he was excited about was the increase in his cultivation base because of his previous battles and cultivation. His cultivation base had increased to 100%. Perhaps this woman would become the key for him to break through. Facing Nie Shuang's attack, Ling Xiao didn't back off. He didn't even try to avoid it. He wanted to give it a try without using the Blood Lightning God. He wanted to see if he could withstand the frightening attack of a second-rank Emperor Martial skill. The most frightening thing about the 100 Steps Divine Fist was its speed. Within 100 steps, it would arrive in an instant. The frightening shadows of the fist had blocked off all of Ling Xiao's escape routes. Although she didn't use a blade, the destructive force of this attack was much stronger than the 9 layered demonic slash. You don't understand the difference between the divine core realm and the divine vein realm. It's the difference in nature. You're just an 8th level divine vein warrior. Even if you're a 9th level divine vein warrior, or even an origin core warrior, it's still meaningless. A single inner core is enough to separate you from me. While speaking, Nieshuang started circulating her inner core. Her dantian started emitting a faint glow. It was as if there was a star shining brightly and releasing its power. It was as if Ling Xiao wasn't facing a human. Instead, he was facing a falling star. Ling Xiao finally experienced the frightening power of a divine core warrior. No matter if it was his body or true yuan, he was on a completely different level compared to a divine vein warrior. Nieshuang was right. No matter how hard a divine vein warrior fought, no matter how heaven-defying he was, he would never be a match for a divine core warrior, unless he had an inner core in his body. He had to thank Nieshuang. Because of Nieshuang, he had comprehended the true essence of the divine core realm. He also understood what an inner core was. It was something that could cause a qualitative change to one's true yuan and body. It was a tiny inner core, but it contained all of a warrior's essence. At this moment, Ling Xiao could feel the divine core in his body moving. Next to it, something that looked like a water droplet appeared. It was round but fragile. However, it still contained a terrifying power. Even a small drop of water was enough to brew Ling Xiao's true essence. The spirit qi of heaven and earth gushed in crazily. The water droplet was like a greedy demonic beast, devouring the energy. He's actually starting to condense the water core. This was something that Ling Xiao had not expected. Theoretically, once a warrior formed a water core, he would be considered a half-step divine core warrior. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the peak of the 8th level of the divine vein realm. The reason for this conflict was probably because he had another divine pill in his body. With the condensation of the water core, he didn't need to go through the 9th stage of the divine vein realm. Perhaps after this breakthrough, he would be able to break through to the half-step divine core realm. This was really something to be excited about. Come on, give me more stimulation. Ling Xiao's speed actually far surpassed Nieshuang's. However, he did not use his speed to dodge. The Heart of Gold's effects could only be maximized with a real attack, and he really wanted to give it a try. After condensing the water core, how big was the gap between him and Nieshuang? Countless people were dumbfounded by what they saw. Ling Xiao made his move. 5th form of the 9 transformations celestial devil art. God extinguishing purgatory. Demonic spatial lock. The 30% innate divine devil sword soul was fully unleashed. Ling Xiao held the Ice Age in one hand, Blood Sun world in the other, the Tao of Yin and Yang. The Tao of the sword was the Tao. The Tao of martial was also the Tao. With his own Tao, his opponent would not be able to break it. A white and black sword beam formed in the air. It turned into a dazzling black and white sword beam, a terrifying aura of God and devil. At the same time, Ling Xiao transformed into the peerless heavenly rat. He could feel that the power of the divine sun bloodline was awakening once again. It had been a long time since the last awakening. The divine sun bloodline hadn't shown any signs of awakening. Perhaps it was because Ling Xiao's cultivation was too weak. Right now, his strength was comparable to that of a divine core warrior. The divine sun bloodline was boiling once again. This ferocious attack was no weaker than Nieshuang's 100 steps divine fist. After all, he was only at the 8th level of the divine vein realm. His opponent was a 1st level divine core warrior. The gap between them was obvious to anyone with a discerning eye. It's useless. There is a qualitative difference between a divine core warrior and a divine vein warrior, although your martial skill and aura are on par with mine. But in terms of quality, the gap between us is huge. What a laughable weakling. You still don't understand the situation. Looking at Ling Xiao's attack A disdainful smile emerged on Nie Shuang's face as she said with a cold voice, "Idiot." Ling Xiao scolded with disdain. Of course, he knew the huge gap between the divine Vein Warrior and the divine Core Warrior. But who knew that the divine core in his body had erased the gap between his true Yuan and a divine Core Warrior? In terms of true Yuan quality, his true Yuan was no weaker than any divine Core Warrior. Even the total amount of true Yuan was more terrifying than a first-level divine Core Warrior. Nie Shuang was stronger than him in terms of cultivation. Because of her advantage in cultivation, Nie Shuang's attack was much stronger. But Ling Xiao had many ways to increase his attack as well. Therefore, the gap between them was getting smaller. The difference was only in terms of quantity. There was no difference in quality. Bang! A terrifying crashing sound could be heard on the arena. Finally, a crack appeared on the arena. The arena was shaking violently, and all the spectators nearby could feel it. In this collision, Ling Xiao was still at a disadvantage. After all, the gap between their cultivation levels was too huge, and there was a huge gap in terms of offensive strength. But the situation was much better than the first time. He was only pushed back 7 steps. He didn't cough up any blood. There was only a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. Instead, an excited smile could be seen on his face, because after this collision, a crack had finally appeared on the door of breaking through. On the other hand, Nie Shuang's expression didn't look good. After this collision, she was pushed back 2 steps as well. Similarly, she was injured. Both of her arms were trembling. What's going on? The quality of his true Yuan isn't any weaker than mine. It's just that there's a slight difference in strength. It's like we're both divine Core Warriors. I'm a perfect divine Core Warrior, and he's an early divine Core Warrior. But this is impossible. He doesn't have the aura of a divine Core Warrior. Nie Shuang was dumbfounded. Ling Xiao's strange behavior made her find it hard to believe. Looks like the strength of a divine Core Warrior is just SOSO. Ling Xiao wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth and said with a faint smile on his face, "What's going on?" On the spectator stand, Nie Feng furrowed his brows. He had always believed in his sister. Besides, a divine Core Warrior could crush a divine Vein Warrior. This was a fact that everyone knew. But today, such a strange sight had appeared, and he couldn't understand why. Chapter 3687. Standing next to Nie Feng, Yu Qilong's expression didn't look good. Ling Xiao's performance was beyond their expectations. We should have killed him when he joined the Purple Palace army. But now he's just an insignificant bug, and he has grown to such a level. But how could he have known that Ling Xiao would grow so quickly? And how could he have known that Ling Xiao would become the biggest obstacle for the Yu family to obtain the Blood Sun Swordmaster's inheritance? The audience was shocked as well. Looks like this battle is going to be interesting. I thought it would be a one-sided battle, but now it looks like things aren't going as we expected. That's right, Ling Xiao's performance is too shocking. Why isn't a genius like him famous before this? Who knows? I've never heard of the name Ling Xiao before. But if he can really defeat Nie Shuang today, he will be able to create a new record. There has never been a case where a divine Vein Warrior could defeat a divine Core Warrior. This is a gap that can't be crossed. Even the king of the Purple Palace Kingdom is no exception. Not even the Golden Emperor from the Golden Heavenly Domain can surpass this gap. Can he really succeed? Many people were looking at Ling Xiao. They were hoping that Ling Xiao could create a miracle. In this world, miracles always made people excited. Do you think you can defeat me like this? Although I don't know what you did to make up for the gap between you and a divine Core Warrior, but even if you did, it doesn't matter. My strength is still stronger than yours, Nie Shuang said proudly. If that's the case, why don't you attack? Ling Xiao said with a faint smile on his face. While speaking, Ling Xiao started unleashing frightening sword energies. 1, 2, 8, 9. Finally, 9 swords appeared around Ling Xiao's body. 9 dazzling sword energies. 9 swords combined into one, and its power was comparable to a second-order Emperor realm martial skill. It was much more powerful than the 5th form of the 9 transformation divine devil art. The terrifying sword qi tore the air apart, causing it to emit a constant wailing sound. Ling Xiao stood there like a peerless sword. He was like a terrifying demon god. It actually caused many people to have the illusion of wanting to kneel down and worship him. There were even weaker martial artists whose souls were not strong enough. They directly knelt down on the spot. "If you don't attack, I will." A mocking sneer appeared on Ling Xiao's face. This terrifying sword actually contained the kind of concept that only an ultimate realm of alchemy martial artist could possess. That terrifying aura. It couldn't be helped. The divine elixir in Ling Xiao's body was something that only an ultimate realm of alchemy martial artist could possess. With the help of this divine pill, at least in terms of momentum, his attack wouldn't lose to any divine core warrior. As for attack power, that was a different story. 9 swords as one. Kill. The space shook violently. 9 sword rays shot towards Nieshuang at the same time. It condensed into a 9-colored sword light in the air, powerful and terrifying. At that instant, Nieshuang's expression turned somewhat ugly. This terrifying attack even made her feel a great threat. There was a feeling of suffocation. The Ling Xiao in front of her didn't look like a divine vain warrior. He had transformed into a terrifying ultimate realm of alchemy martial artist. Domineering, mighty, insufferably arrogant. He had actually suppressed her martial soul. Her soul. What kind of monster is he? Nieshuang's confidence was shattered once again. She really couldn't understand. What kind of person was he? But one thing was for sure. Yu Qilong asked her to deal with Ling Xiao. She finally understood why. This Ling Xiao was not someone that could be defeated by any ordinary martial artist. It looked like she had to use her final trump card. If not, she might really lose today's fight. Even if she won, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, and that would be dishonorable. Ling Xiao is indeed my big brother. Sister, I don't think even you can compare with his talent. Zilong said excitedly. Not only me, even the Golden Sovereign, one of the strongest rulers of the 4 regions, can't compare with him. Of course, he has to be able to defeat Nieshuang first. Zi Qianya was completely convinced. She suddenly realized now. Why didn't Ling Xiao want to acknowledge her as his master, but only as his sister? With such a terrifying talent, she believed that it wouldn't be long before he surpassed her. He didn't acknowledge her as his master because he didn't want to embarrass her too much. It was different to be his sister. Speaking of which, she was a little bit out of her league. She had always thought that acknowledging Ling Xiao as her sister was more like a reward. But now she didn't think so at all. It was her honor to be able to become siblings with such a person, not Ling Xiao's. The terrifying power of the 9 swords combined into one made Nieshuang feel the threat of failure. She couldn't lose. It's also an advanced, first-level Emperor martial skill. Your strength is not as good as mine. Let's see what you have to fight with me. Nieshuang calmed down and was no longer excited. She took out her dual sabers again. She looked coldly at the 9-colored sword light that came crashing down. Fierce saber intent bloomed on the dual sabers. A powerful force gushed out of her body. Advanced second-level Emperor martial skill, War God Saber formation. Nieshuang was indeed a woman who had a good relationship with Yu Qilong. In the Purple Mansion Army, only a few of the top major generals were able to learn martial arts of this level. But she had it. A delicate cry sounded in the arena. Then, a terrifying saber light formed above her head. The saber light formed a strange saber formation and attacked Ling Xiao. It completely surrounded Ling Xiao from all directions. At this moment, Ling Xiao couldn't escape. The only way for him to survive was to break this saber formation. Die, stupid boy. The level of the war god saber formation was the same as that of the 9 swords combined into one, but Nie Shuang's strength was stronger than Ling Xiao's. Perhaps this was the reason why he was so confident. So Nie Shuang knew that she could definitely defeat Ling Xiao and even kill him. However, what she didn't understand was why Ling Xiao was still wearing the disgusting smile on his face. It was as if Ling Xiao was the winner of this battle. Unlike her, Nie Shuang. Boom! Finally, the 9 swords combined into one and collided with the war god's saber formation. The will of an ultimate stage martial artist completely suppressed Nie Shuang's will. A stalemate. However, in the stalemate, Nie Shuang found that her strength was constantly declining. The air was filled with a strange red aura. Bloodthirsty plague. Ling Xiao finally took out his trump card. In order to make up for the difference in strength between him and Nie Shuang, the bloodthirsty plague was a very useful move. The plague invaded Nie Shuang's body. At that moment, Nie Shuang's control of the war god saber formation weakened a lot. Chance. Ling Xiao didn't care whether the opponent was a woman or not. He used all his strength to activate the 9 swords combined into one and attacked Nie Shuang. The war god saber formation instantly collapsed because it lost Nie Shuang's control. Although it offset a lot of the power of the 9 swords combined into one, it couldn't be completely eliminated. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.